Hello and thanks once again for staying on the AM show. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. To the news now. Third-year senior high school students in the OT region are asking government to respond positively to demands made by teachers. They are worried the strike could affect their final examinations. Correspondent Peter Senu has been interacting with some parents and students.
It is day one of the teacher union strike declared across the country. Tuesday morning, JoyNews monitored the situation in some schools in the region.
They said they should be in the house, but I told them that I want to come and see what will happen.
So what's happening to what did you see?
I see that there is no teacher here. It's only the students.
Good. You are informed today too?
Yes, please.
So how do you feel about the situation?
I don't like it at all, but we don't know what to do about it.
We stayed in the house for barely a year and not being able to complete our syllabus, we are finding it very difficult to even prepare for our final exams.
Some parents are also calling on government to immediately respond to the request by teachers so their children could go back to school.
Normal akosro until the teacher focus strike on we are right because there are two normal so now two teacher focus we don't know what is going on. We don't know what is going on. They say they are allowance. So we are praying for the government to come to their aid.
I've also been joined by the district NAT chairman, Mr. Philip Obonye. He has been going around and we want to find out from him his observations.
Teachers are actually adhering strictly to the directive from leadership to stay out of work. So in some of the schools, they have been virtually closed down. Other places too, you go and meet only the head teacher at post.
From the OT region, my name is Peter Senu for JoyNews.
Well, still on this subject, the minority says government should shut down pre-tertiary institutions if it cannot meet the demands of the teachers who are on strike. The Ghana Education Service has directed head of schools to keep the schools open. Addressing journalists in Parliament, Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, said it's not possible for head teachers and senior housemasters alone to protect students and keep the schools functioning.
The teacher unions, after failing to get the attention of government to address their request to be paid the cost of living allowance, also known as COLA, have decided to embark on a nationwide strike. As we speak today, close to 7 million students from kindergarten through primary school to junior high school, to secondary schools, are currently not benefiting from teaching and learning. Clearly, this is as a result of the government's inability to meet its obligations and to be proactive in addressing the needs and demands of labor unions, including the teachers. We have seen a circular from the Ghana Education Service directing managers of schools to take control and to ensure the safety and security of students. Clearly, that cannot be enough if you consider that one head teacher alone cannot take care and secure the safety of an entire school. So we want to urge government to immediately address the concerns of the teachers so that they can go back to the classrooms without any further delay. If this goes on beyond 2 to 3 days, it will be advisable for the GES to direct that the schools be closed down for the safety and security of the students. But ultimately, government bears the responsibility of ensuring that the needful is done so that the teachers can go back to the classroom.
And there's pressure on President Akufo-Addo to dismiss Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who has been accused of mismanaging the economy. Former President Mahama and some economists have already made that call, while Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, believes Mr. Ofori-Atta does not have the capacity to lead the country into negotiations with the IMF. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante has the rest of the story.
When we were told to go at the time when we could walk there, we refused until we were carried in clutches and arrived at the IMF.
As government prepares to negotiate its 18th program with the IMF, government has to put a team together. But there are already renewed calls for Finance Minister to be sacked. Ken Ofori-Atta had persistently said government was not going to seek an IMF bailout and is now being accused of mismanaging the economy. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, Ken Ofori-Atta will not be trusted by the IMF.
Ken Ofori-Atta doesn't have the capacity, the integrity that is required to lead an IMF program. You see, when Ken Ofori-Atta moved from data bank and business to manage the economy, he needed to recalibrate. The skill sets are not the same. The capacity is not the same. He needed to recalibrate. But you cannot recalibrate capacity you don't have. To recalibrate to become a fit-for-purpose finance minister that can deal with fiscal policy, that can deal with financial stability, the macroeconomy, and work with monetary policy authorities require that you must already have that skill set, which you had buried because the work you were doing did not require it. So you recalibrate and bring it on board, but you didn't have it. The international capital market doesn't trust him. But as usual, the president is at pains to protect him and to keep him.
He's suggesting economists and businessmen like Kwame Pienim and Sam Jonah to lead Ghana's negotiation team.
You see, when they say they have the men, they have the men. You see where they are. They should look for Kwame Pienim immediately. He's the one who can save them. To lead this team. They should go and get Ishmael Jansen to be there. Get Sam Jonah, the best brains of our country. Because this job is the equivalent of 1983 challenge.
He claims if Ken Ofori-Atta is kept at post, Ghana will get a bad deal with the fund.
To tell the president the posturing of IMF will set group of people. Once the IMF believes that Ken, they don't trust Ken, the capital market doesn't trust Ken, he doesn't have commitment towards IMF program and only want to appropriate the name of IMF and pretend to the international community that we are on a program so they'll bring back the money again. The IMF, I assure you, if you insist, will front load the milestones and the corrections that must be done. And assign the flow of monies into the economy to the achievement of the milestones and the targets. And when they front load them, and 1 year later you are not achieving them, no penny is coming to this country.
Officials of the IMF are arriving in Ghana today for formal talks to begin with the government of Ghana on Wednesday in terms of what specific program the government will sign on to. This will be the 18th time the country is going to IMF for support, and there are those who already say this will be a painful one for the Ghanaian citizen. Isaac Adongo has also been lashing out at Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who he says has led the economy aground.
So if there is any vice president and head of economic management team who was given unbridled powers and authority and endorsement ever in our country, it is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. This was the man who was doing inflation calculation at Malata and you were clapping for him. Which serious economists will see stability, small stability in the market, in the forex market, and say he has arrested the cedi or the dollar?
The next few weeks will be crucial for the negotiation, with organized labor already sounding a caution they will not tolerate any IMF deal that brings hardship on the Ghanaian worker.
President Akufo-Addo has cut sword for the construction of a €500 million Manso-Huni Valley section of the Western Railway line, describing it as the highest single investment for rail development since Ghana gained independence. The president indicated that the project is expected to be completed within 42 months.
I have said on several occasions that one of the great tragedies of our post-colonial era was allowing our railway infrastructure developed for us under colonial rule to deteriorate completely. By January 2017, out of the 947 kilometers of colonial narrow gauge railway network bequeathed to us by the colonialists, barely 10% was operational. Indeed, the only addition to the network has been the 15-kilometer narrow gauge railway line built between 2012 and 2017 from Sekondi to Takoradi via Kojoku. Upon my assumption of office in January 2017, I was determined to change this statistic because I believe that the presence of an efficient railway system is critical to the progress and prosperity of our nation. This led me to the decision to re-establish the Ministry of Railways Development, which has started yielding fruits. Today's event, the cutting of the sword for the construction of the Mansfield to Holy Valley section of the Western Railway line on standard gauge, is a clear manifestation of the Akufo-Addo government's policy to develop and grow the country's railway sector.
While residents of Nsawam are yearning for the revival of the Ghana Railway service, they believe their local economy will bounce back once the trains start working again. That is the focus of the latest edition of the JoyNews Tracker. It will come up later in the show. Do stay for that. Now, in 2020, more than 300 adolescent girls were impregnated in Ghana every day, with 13 teenage pregnancies recorded per hour. Majority of these girls, according to data from the Ghana Health Service, were domiciled in the Ashanti region. 2 years on, the region is still pegged as Ghana's leading hub of teenage pregnancies and teenage mothers. Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku and Anita Sewa Adzuga interacted with some teenage mothers to understand what exactly is leading to the rise in the numbers and what could be done to change the status quo.
With a promise from her 19-year-old boyfriend to tie the knot in the future, Rukia, as I choose to call her, bore a child with him.
My boyfriend promised to marry me when we were at school. My father cautioned me, but I never heed to his advice.
Unlike most teenage mothers, the 17-year-old is lucky to have her mother cater for her baby while she is away at school. Rukia is unperturbed by her present circumstances despite being mocked by her schoolmates. She's rather focused on actualizing her dream as an illustrious journalist.
My friends mock me. I feel bad whenever they do that. But I am now determined to be a journalist so I can advise the younger ones.
Equia, also a teenage mother, is due to deliver her baby in a month's time. Her unborn child becomes her second with her boyfriend, who is almost twice her age. The 16-year-old dropped out of school at primary 4 due to her mother's inability to cater for her and her siblings.
Because my mother didn't have money, I had to stop school.
Unlike Rukia, who tells me her pregnancy was from her obstinacy, Equia says abject poverty pushed her to be with a man, hoping he would take good care of her. But Equia is presently worse off as a boyfriend who works as a painter is unable to cater for her and their offsprings.
I go to my boyfriend's sister when he tells me he doesn't have money.
The economic plight in major Ghanaian cities have forced many vibrant but destitute adolescent girls to sell off their bodies to men to earn a living. Data from the Ghana Health Service reveals about 17,802 teenagers in Ashanti region got pregnant in 2020 alone. The Asokore Mampong municipality is a hub to many young parents. Nana Ajiman of the Asokore-Mampong Local Traditional Council explains some causes of the growing numbers of teenage parenthood in the area. Some adolescents are stubborn. No matter the amount of money you give them, they will still go after men. According to research, one's first sexual encounter is dependent on their level of education. The higher an adolescent's educational level, the less likely to engage in sexual intercourse at an early age. In Ghana, teenage mothers between the ages of 10 and 16 years are mostly school dropouts. Teenage mothers who begin their sexual escapades at an early age are therefore more likely to be primary school dropouts or uneducated. To help alleviate the worrying statistics, the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana has over the years provided basic family planning support, maternal and child health care, and education for victims of early child parenting. John Owusu-Mensah is a field officer.
We have raised a project in Asokore-Mampong municipality which is known as End Child Marriage. What this project seeks to do is to eliminate or reduce child marriage and give information to people, because we identify that these are pregnant teens, parenting teens. We cannot leave them behind. We cannot leave them to their fate because maybe we think they have gone beyond what we are expected of them to do. But here's the case, we cannot leave them. We have to also kind of assist them in their upkeeps and everything.
Lack of formal education and access to vocational training are a few of the attributable causes of a teenage mother's joblessness. As part of its mandates, PPAG provides some livelihood support to young girls in communities. The skills training is to set upcoming teenage girls on the rail to establishing their own businesses and not become victims of the menace.
The training would help me establish a business other than going after men. I can use proceeds from this to continue my education.
A root cause of teenage pregnancies and premature parenthood has been unemployment. But as more institutions set out to aid these younger generations with livelihood support, it could only be deemed as a step in the right direction. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku and Anita Sewajo guest report for JoyNews.
Now, Ghana's ambassador to Saudi Arabia is optimistic the quota for Ghanaian pilgrims to Hajj after the COVID-19 pandemic will increase. 3,069 places were allotted, with more than 20,000 applications pending. Mohammed Habib Tijani says his office is prepared to ensure the welfare of pilgrims as they embark on the exercise. Nana Yaujima reports.
Some Muslim pilgrims to Mecca expressed disappointment in their leadership after some were left stranded at the Accra Hajj village for hours. Though many of them have met the necessary requirements, they were unable to make the Hajj pilgrimage due to limited slots. The Ghana Hajj Board, which is in charge of pilgrim affairs, has already promised a refund of monies to the prospective pilgrims who could not make it to Saudi Arabia. Mohammed Habib Tijani is Ghana's ambassador to Saudi Arabia.
Subsequent years, the COVID will go away and we will be able to bring in all those who were supposed to be here. Because from my own calculations, we had over 20,000 people struggling for 3,069 places. Definitely, people are aggrieved. There was no way everybody could be in Hajj this year. We are praying that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala should make it possible and take away the COVID pandemic so that subsequent years we will have full capacity and possibly more than the 6,500 that we have been getting.
Officials of the Hajj Board explain accommodation arrangements for Ghanaian pilgrims have so far been satisfactory, but they will work to address few concerns. Alhaji Farouk Hamza is Director of Finance on the Hajj Board.
We have taken note of a few concerns that are normal and they are being resolved, but generally they are faring well. We're happy with the state in which we have found our pilgrims. The good thing is that We have all our pilgrims located within one central area, which is just about 3-5 minutes walk to Haram. And we are using 5 standard hotels.
For Joy News, Nana Yauchima reporting.
And here in our JoyNews studios, I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Thank you so much for staying with us. Coming up shortly is a news review, and my guest is Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Do stay for that. It's some 32 minutes after 6. It's now time to get into the papers and let you know the stories that are trending. And joining me for our news review this morning is Dr. Asah-Asante, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Thank you for joining me this morning, sir. Let me bring you what is on the front pages, and then we can zoom into the specifics later. So on the front page of the Daily Graphic, we have a strike paralyzes public schools. Government urges unions to restore services. It comes along with a photograph of some pupils of the St. Charles Primary School in Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, about to ride their bicycles back home due to the strike. Also on the front page of the Daily Graphic, former toll workers petition president over lost jobs. Remember, we brought you that story some 2 weeks ago, where the toll workers, some of them who are persons with disabilities, were appealing to the president to fulfill the promise of reassigning them. And this very interesting one, Ghanaian leads UK team on brain disorder breakthrough. That's really exciting. Professor Eric Abuaje there, when you hear of Ghanaians doing wonderful things in other parts of the world. And that one on the back page that we brought to you during the AM News, President cut sword for Mansu Huni Valley Railway. And Stratcom Africa launches 10th Garden Flower Show, calls on stakeholders to leverage flowers for wealth. On the front page of The Finder, non-traditional exports rake in $3.33 billion in 2021, and sword cut for that railway line that we just saw on the back page of Graphic. Teachers strike, GES to meet unions. Okay, this is on page 9. If you joined the show yesterday, remember we were told that that meeting was supposed to happen yesterday. We need to get an update on that. If this morning the Finder is still capturing it to mean they are to meet the unions. And malicious accusations against John Boydoo are false, and that's according to the campaign team. Front page of the Ghanaian publisher also has that John Boydoo dismisses spurious allegations, and non-traditional export earnings up 17%. Opuni trial, no farmer drank Lithovit fertilizer. And Ghana IMF negotiation begins today. That's a big one. Gabi explains Ghana's decision. And NLA rubbishes impropriety job losses claim. Daily Guide. IMF decision returns investor confidence. That'll be an interesting one to delve into. And Anna cut sword for €500 million rail line warns thieves. Ato Forson's trial adjourned to July 21 and bring back toll booths, a section of the toll workers who visited Parliament. And that one on Jacqueline Mensah. If you're a lover of TikTok, this is a lady you should know. Fire has gutted her home, unfortunately. And, oh, sorry about that. But she was expressing gratitude to God for saving her life. The story continues on page 8. On the back page of the Daily Guide, don't fire Samuel Boydoo, TT Brothers caution. Samuel Boydoo is the coach of the team I love, Accra Hearts of Oak. And PSG sack Pochettino. Sierra Leone FA probe, 91-1, 95-0 score lines. That's very interesting. That isn't it outrageous? 91. Front page of the Ghanaian Times. That one on the teacher strike. GES invites school heads over teacher strike. And Accra residents fume over persistent floods after early morning downpour. Opokwa Mankwa GES boss. Okay, I think there's a bit of a, yeah, there's a mistake on that one. And also the story on the Mansuhuni Valley Railway is captured. Republic, Tarzan joins IMF chat. Drop Oforiata from government delegation. We also heard that on the news earlier, where Isaac Adongo was calling for same. Ghanaian gold sellers, suppliers enraged over Dubai-based dynamic FZC ploy to swindle trade and logistics company. Nurses and midwives demand cost of living allowance. And today, quite a lot of papers this morning. Let me just go to Dr. Asasante. We have him now via Zoom. Good morning, Doc. Thanks for joining the program. Let me take your thoughts on the teacher strike first. Now we have nurses and midwives also demanding a cost of living allowance. We know Ghana is starting negotiations with the IMF today. Clearly, some have said an admission by government that the times are not favorable when we talk in terms of the economy. And there are those who have petitioned or urged the teachers and other worker unions to just hold on and allow government to recover from what we are seeing now. What are your quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, good morning. I think it's a difficult time. We are in difficult times, and we have to acknowledge that that is the reality. That is a difficult and a worrying situation, because when you look at the nurses and the doctors and all that, yeah, if they've worked, they need to get their due. So even though we are in difficult times, it needs to be handled very well so that it doesn't create unnecessary problem. But they also deserve their fair share of the national cake.
Now let's talk about the IMF bailout. We know negotiations are starting today. There are those who've criticized government and said, look, you should have gone in for this earlier. There was no need dragging your feet and trying to get the e-levy and all that. And there are those who are saying, you know what? We don't think the finance minister is up to task. You should let him go. In fact, there are those who have even questioned why there hasn't been any reshuffle. How do you think all these things come to play as we talk about the performance of this particular government when it comes to the economy?
It's a difficult one. If you look at what has brought us this far, then you cannot fault those who are asking for the finance minister to be sacked, that they have a legitimate point. Because, look, you cannot manage economy and then you know that, yes, we are not, we are not getting the right responses, and that things are difficult. That the earlier you abandon your previous position and then move on to another. We didn't get this. We didn't get this, and this is how far we have come. In governance, there's always the need to ensure that those who are non-performing, you get them out so that you can maintain the system. All right. Sometimes we introduce those new persons to bring in energy. Sometimes we reshuffle to take them to a position where they can also go and inject some. See all of this. But my dear sister, there are a number of things apart from what I've said that have brought us to this far. If you look at the economy, all right, there are a lot that we did not do right. If you look at waste in the system, we did not manage them well. If you look at waste from state-owned enterprises, from report that we read from Auditor General. If you look at corruption and all that, it is one thing that has contributed to where we are now. Come to look at also the situation where government was engaging in unnecessary expenditure. Look at the cathedral program. I mean, it is a good project, but is that what we need now? And all these things, we throw money in. And then we do not get honest leadership, because people saw that there were difficult times. People saw that there was something wrong, basically wrong with the economy. But the government did not come clean on this. We were all giving stories that all will be well, and here we are. But I believe that as we are preparing for IMF, we have no choice than to be disciplined, because one of the things that has also brought us this far is indiscipline. And IMF will not sit down for you to be indisciplined while they give you resources, and this will whip us to line. I think going forward, we should have people that we believe that they can manage the economy. I have thought over the years that, is it the case that we have those who have what it takes to manage the economy? I've not been able to have answers to some of these questions, because the slightest problem we have, we run, and when they come in, they are able to stabilize the system. And if you ask yourself that, is it the case that we know what to do or we don't?
Hello, Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm okay here. I can hear you.
Or is it the case that we are trading sound economic decisions to meet or fulfill the very sometimes, unrealistic promises we make during campaigns?
Yes, it is one of the issues that which has also contributed to this problem. Sometimes we make a lot of promises, and those promises we try, and we know that they are not viable, but we make them and then pump money into such projects which are nothing but to satisfy certain political ends and not necessarily providing for the state. It is one of the factors that has also worked against us.
Doc, I mean, as a political scientist, if a government came to you and said, we made these promises prior to our election into government, now we are here and we realize that it's not what we thought it to be, and the projections we made may not be the case due to what we realize is existing, especially in terms of the financial muscle to fulfill those promises. How do governments go about communicating some of these shocks and surprises once they assume power? How do they handle them? Because then the people voted for you based on the promises, but you get in there and you realize that you're not able to fulfill the promise. It's quite a dicey situation. How do you handle that political communication?
You see, you need to be honest. It doesn't matter how difficult the situation is. You did not anticipate something, and all of a sudden, here you are. You have something on your hands that you cannot handle. You need to admit and then tell the people who gave you mandate that this is how far you have come. That is better.
Hello, Doc.
We need to make promises that program we want to do. We must think through it properly and see whether it is feasible before you commit money into it. Otherwise, we are going to have such situations all the time, and that.
Well, it appears we have a challenge with that line to Dr. Asante. Hello, Doc, can you hear me? Your feed froze. All right, too bad. We're trying to reconnect. I was just about to ask him on the back of promises, take his thoughts on the workers of the toll booths who were promised reassignment. We know that hasn't happened yet. And even the whole confusion about the toll booths, scrapping it, going for the e-levy, saying that it was going to help us, you know, economically. Now we are taking a U-turn, going to the IMF and still saying that, well, we are not going to scrap the e-levy because it will support the general economic well-being and all that. I was just going to take Doc's quick thoughts on that. But there were a couple of papers I was yet to focus on before he came in. So let me just do that quickly. The front page of the Daily Statesman, Ghana export earnings up 17%, captured in other papers. Osafo Mafo apologizes for ethnocentric comments, and details of that story is captured on page 4. Ghana's Eurobonds extend gains. NLAD Bank's claims of over 2 million job losses and steady progress in real sector. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. But let me just bring you a bit of that one on Osafo Mafo apologizing for ethnocentric comments on page 4. And as the story is by Bright Philip Donko, and the senior presidential advisor, Osafo Mafo, has admitted guilt for passing an ethnocentric comment that purportedly painted Asantes in bad light. His apology was contained in a press statement dated July 1. It followed the leakage of excerpt of a conversation he had with his colleagues relating to the roles of various ethnic groups in the pre-independence struggle. The senior presidential advisor, in a video circulated on social media, was heard saying that the struggle for independence was led by the Achims and that the Asantes were not involved. The public has responded, however, in an angry manner to the comment on social media. And he said the comment was never intended to stir up ethnic tensions between Achims and Asantes, adding that the ethnic tension is not a thing I want for our country or the NPP. On the same page of the Daily Statesman, Kwache therefore lauds Akufo-Addo's bold decision on IMF. And the last one, the custodian. Ghana Eurobonds extend gains. Details on page 3. And that one on the NLA and Ghana earning some $3.33 billion from non-traditional exports is captured. Do we have Dr. Asah-Asante back? Well, we seem to have a challenge with that particular one there. But let me bring you some more details on that story on the president cutting short for work to begin on the Mansu-Honi Valley Railway. It's on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. That story is captured in different papers, but I'll bring you details of that one. Okay, let me hold on. I'm told Dr. Asah-Asante is back. Doc, thank you for reconnecting. So just before you went, I was talking about our decision as a country to scrap the road tolls. That led to some job losses. And these persons who were manning our toll booths, many of whom were, or are persons with disabilities, were promised reassignment. That hasn't happened. And we all know the back and forth with even the toll booth and Parliament not approving before the decision was taken and enforcement and all that. Now, we brought in the e-levy. And we were told that this was going to help us resolve our economic issues. And then later we heard, well, the e-levy didn't accrue as much as we thought it would, so we are going to the IMF. Government says, despite its decision to go to the IMF, it will not scrap the e-levy. There are those who say this whole process of trying to salvage the economy was not well thought through. Hello, Doc? Well, I'm told that we're having some challenges on that line. Too bad. It would have been good to hear what Doc had to say as a political scientist as well. Also because this is largely political decisions affecting the economy and all that, keeping promises, ensuring that jobs are maintained and all that. Let me go back to that one on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Let me just pull that out now. On the president cutting short for the Mansohuni Valley Railway work to begin. And President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo yesterday cut short for the commencement of work on the construction of a €500 million Mansohuni Valley section of the Western Railway. He described it as the highest single investment for rail development since Ghana gained independence. And we know that this government has had an ambitious agenda to revamp our rail sector. Later on the show, we'll be bringing you our JoyNews tracker, the latest edition, which focuses on the rail sector and, you know, all the efforts government has put in and why we have not seen the rail lines, you know, working as we thought they would, considering government's plan and agenda at the time these rail lines development had started. Well, thankfully, the lines will help us. I hope they do this time. We have Dr. Asante back. Hello, Doc, if you can hear me. So there's a story captured on some of the front pages of the papers had to do with toll booth workers, persons with disabilities who were promised reassignment after government decided to scrap the road tolls. We went in for the e-levy, it didn't work. We've gone to the IMF, it didn't work. There are those who say that, look, this whole thing of trying to salvage the economy was not well thought through. People have lost their jobs. Now, the e-levy is not even bringing in much. You're going to the IMF. Now you say you won't scrap the e-levy. Do you agree with such persons?
Government is taking such posture because if you look at the genesis of all this, when we started with the conversation around e-levy, there were scholars and experts who said that 1% was enough for Ghanaians to show that government did not listen at all. And look at it, government thought that making it 1.5, they would be able to rake in the needed revenue. One would have thought that if they had listened to the expert and place it at 1%, I think the story would have been different. If you look at the decision to, discontinue the revenue generated from the toll booths, it is so surprising that that decision was taken because, look, it doesn't matter how even small or meager that resource is. We are able to generate a little that at least if we have kept the process in place, we'll be able to gain some little amount and add it to what we have. Scrap. It's very unfortunate. It throws light on the capacity of this.
Hello, Doc. Too bad this morning we are struggling to have a stable connection with you. Hopefully we'll be able to raise you another time to hear your thoughts on the major issues in the newspapers. That's a political scientist and director for the Center for European Studies, Dr. Kwame Asante, who was just sharing his thoughts on the e-levy and government's decision not to withdraw it despite going to the IMF. So later this morning, we would be having a conversation on the IMF because we know negotiations will start today. Also for our Joy Business, AM Business Edition today, we'll also be focusing on the IMF. So do stay with us. And on that one, involving school children, is day 2 of the teachers' strike. They are demanding a cost of living allowance from government. We're yet to hear if government will be able to meet it at all. What government's position is on the matter. We are told that some negotiations started prior to the strike. The National Labour Commission has directed that negotiations continue and has given a 7-day ultimatum for which the Minister of Education, Director of GES, Minister of Employment and others must get back to the NLC on what they've been able to negotiate with the teachers. Also, midwives and nurses are asking for a cost of living allowance, and so it doesn't get any easier on government. We hope to get a response from government on this as well. And also later in the show, we'll bring you that conversation on terrorism. I saw one story on one of the papers talking about that. Let me just go for that, just to set a bit of a tone later for that conversation my colleague had with Brigadier Lansah, retired. So 17 terrorist attacks recorded in West Africa in June 2022, and that from National Security Minister Albert Kandapa. And this story is from The Republic. It's on page 11. Let me just bring you details to set the tone for that conversation, which we'll bring later. Albert Kandapa, Minister of National Security, says the West African sub-region experienced 17 terrorist attacks as of June 28, 2022. He said the attacks resulted in 574 deaths with so many injuries. In April, the sub-region of West Africa witnessed attacks, incidents, and 315 people died. We felt that was too much, but in May, there were only 42 incidents, 5 less than in April, but 465 people died. The trend has not changed, he added. The minister said this at the opening ceremony of the first senior level regional course for the prevention of violent extremism for West Africa in Accra. The 4-day event is jointly organized by the African Union's specialized institution, Africa Center for the Study and Research of Terrorism, and partnered by the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs of Switzerland. It is being supported by the Human Security Research Center here in Ghana. We know there were some alerts issued earlier this year about Ghana being a target, and everybody was told to be alert. If you see something, say something. The story is still the same, so just be vigilant. Keep your eyes on the ground. If you observe anybody acting strangely, just reach out to the nearest security official. If it's a police officer by the road, or if it's a police post close to you, just alert them and let the law take its course. Here on the AM show, right about now, will be just a breaking for sports, and Muhtar Nabila will bring you that. Do stay.
Few days into government's resolve to seek an IMF bailout, and many wonder, how did we get here?
Even if they go for the money, they will come and then embezzle it, and then they'll be spending our money. Wow. It is unnecessary.
There's no way we can survive without IMF, because over some years now, I think most governments have been to IMF about 16 times, as I can remember. If we go to IMF, I think IMF can regulate the government.
Seth Tekpe is former finance minister who had sounded the alarm for an immediate IMF program months before government announcement.
If we don't go to the IMF now, right, I have more questions. Are we able to weather the Ukraine war for as long as it takes? The G7 just met, right, and they are saying they are in for the long haul, which means that, quote, what they are saying is that we expect this to extend maybe to the end of the year or the rest. Are we able, to weather with our current condition, the inflationary things, the adjustments which the global central banks are doing, and now we are doing syndicated loans. Even if we were in the markets ordinarily, we would be borrowing at rates that now account which are going to be higher because of the global interest rate. So I'm saying that's another factor we need to consider, right? Given our current situation, are we able to to harbor this? If crude oil prices continue to grow, if grains don't come, for wheat to go to, our two major wheat producers, bread and the rest. Those are the factors we should be talking about when we talk, about this. And I'm saying that, where is the pride? Didn't we go back to the IMF for COVID loan? If we were that solid, why didn't we stomach it ourselves?
Ghana's net international reserves has declined to $4.6 billion in April 2022. That's from $6.9 billion in January 2022. This has impacted the foreign exchange market, as some multinational firms that have declared dividends so far are also expected to repatriate the funds to the investors. This, among many other severe economic challenges, mounted pressure on government to seek IMF assistance. Kojo Opon Nkrumah is Minister of Information.
This is the appropriate time that you will take a decision like this. Let's go back. 2017, 2018, 2019, there was no basis to take a decision to go to the fund for a balance of payment supported program.
But the same COVID you are raising, it came up in 2020.
I'm saying 2017, 2018, 2019, there was no such need. 2020, as I've explained, our economy was badly hit. 2021, we actually took money from the fund. I hope people have not forgotten. We actually took about $1 billion from the fund to support our COVID response program. But that was not a balance of payment program. Now, as we're entering 2022, in November 2021, we put an economic program before the Republic, went to Parliament and sought to get that program approved, and then upon its approval, implemented. Take some of our revenue measures. Where ordinarily you would expect revenue measures to pass, let's say in November, December, so that by the 1st of January, implementation starts, and then you can build the revenues and the buffers that you are looking to deal with, for example, my brother's national service allowance, or the cost of living allowance as my colleagues are asking for.
In all of this, Ghanaians are concerned about the impact of any conditionality on their cost and standard of living.
When they came, they didn't suffer. So as they saw the money, they were just spending the money left and right.
I've been expecting this from this very government quite long ago. Ever since we realized the economy was going down, we were expecting this. But I didn't know why the present government was talking about e-levy. We are welcoming it. So the only thing we can tell the government is that they should return our e-levy for us and cancel the e-levy with immediate effect since they are going for the IMF.
Well, I think in many ways it's good, but per their own manifesto and per their own utterances, they let us know that we are capable of managing our own affairs, and we are much we have the strength to do our own things. But right now, going back to IMF seems like we are now weak to the extent that we can't even do things which will benefit us anymore, unless we call for foreign aid before they can come and support us. That means we are still like incompetent, as they use the same word to the previous president.
Ghana's umbrella business community, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, though agrees with the intent for an IMF bailout, of the chamber.
As we speak now, we cannot generate money from within. There is no way. And you can just check from the way the e-levy went on. As we speak now, we're getting about 10% of the total revenue that they were expecting the country to get. The 90% is not coming from within. And so there's no alternative than to seek the redress of the IMF. But what I want to say is that when we are able to get their support, we have to look within and see where we can still make some gains. Honestly, businesses are hurting and everybody is complaining. Now we can see that inflation has moved up high. We also see that the prime rate has also moved up to 9. Exchange rate keeps on being above 8 point something. If you allow the economy to go as it is, I'm afraid businesses cannot be sustained. We need foreign currency to import. We need good interest rate to borrow money to expand our business and create jobs. In the absence of we not getting that money, and the government is also borrowing alongside with us to crowd out the private markets, then what we foresee, if we don't go for the bailout, will be very difficult. And I think that let's go in for the bailout and see what we can do within to support what it is. If that is done, it will bring the confidence back into the economy.
Yes, seeking IMF assistance will bolster investor confidence, but the Association of Ghana Industries AGI wants the government to put forward a decisive homegrown policy ahead of negotiations with staff of the fund.
In recent months, we could all tell that, things have not been that smooth. We've had the cedi depreciating at the fast rate, oil prices are going up, cost of freight is so high. Policy rate has been increased all the way to 19%. Interest rate is, so high. So definitely there is instability in the macroeconomic environment. And therefore, every effort to bring it back and bring that stability is critical. We are not happy that we've gotten to this point, but I think we've gotten to a stage where we don't seem to have much choices. If you want to bring stability and you are borrowing at such a high interest cost, then it's very difficult to bring that stability that you need. And therefore, some injection from elsewhere may be necessary. Unfortunately, because we borrowed so much, our interest cost is high, and we are virtually getting to the stage where borrowing is becoming difficult. So intervention from IMF then becomes necessary. So at this particular moment, I don't think that we have a choice. So AGR supports the idea of we going for IMF intervention and bringing stability into the system.
Whatever happens at the negotiating table for the 17th bailout program, Ghana's trading community is nervous about conditionalities that could disrupt public spending. Dr. Joseph Obin is president of GUTA.
And the IMF is also a service under which the government can also have some respite. In that, when they apply the strict measures for us to be disciplined and all that, then of course a government will be exonerated. Then we think that that's a smart move from the government. Otherwise, if it would have adopted a homegrown solution by itself and all that, cutting down most of the social interventions that they themselves have brought, politically, it will be probably not prudent for them. And so if IMF will come in and make sure that what we are insisting, that we ensure that there's discipline in our expenditure, make sure that we do not spend on frivolities and all that, and that they also put better money on the table. As we are speaking, I don't know what they are bringing to bear, and then the restrictions that they are adding up. And so we still wait for details to emerge, and then we can still make contribution to whatever it is.
Some economists are not very optimistic about Ghana's prospects ahead of the IMF engagement. An associate professor at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Charles Godfred Akab, describes the intervention as short-term, which will leave the country back in the same situation.
If they are now trying to go back to IMF for $2 billion US, I am saying that the central bank can finance about $1 trillion US. Okay. And depending on how it is spent, it should not cause us inflation. That can fix our roads, create the industries, employ the youth on the street. It should not be IMF be the solution. They will not give us anything that can change Ghana in 10 years.
Okay.
So I believe that our problem is the central bank. And the IMF is saying that the central bank is zero financing. Why should it be zero financing? What is the role of the central bank? The cedi is a public good. We don't go and get a cedi from China. The cedi is printed by government.
IMF officials begin negotiations with government to work out a package to support Ghana's economy. Government continues to be hard-pressed with options of easing economic hardships and stimulating public spending. I'm Charles Ayete for Joy Business.
Well, today we know that a team from the IMF has arrived in town. The team arrived yesterday. Today, negotiations begin, discussions begin. But what exactly do we mean when we say Ghana is going in for a program that will help us with our balance of payments? And really, if there will be any conditions attached, what exactly they may be? Joining me for this conversation is Professor Lord Mensah. He is with the University of Ghana Business School. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining the program.
Yeah, good morning, my sister. Good morning to our listeners.
Right, Prof. So there are a lot of people who are hearing all these jargons being thrown around, and really, in simple man's terms, what does it mean when you say, oh, the program we are going for is just to help us with balance of payments? What will such a program entail, and what exactly will the conditions be, if there will be any? What nature will they take?
Well, balance of payment, first of all, as a country, we import and then also we export. And Ghana, looking at our position now, the difference between, the available funds for export and then available funds for import is what we call balance of payment. And Ghana being an import-driven economy, we always need, more buffer, i.e., we'll need more dollars, because whatever transaction you are doing, even across, to Togo, you will use dollars. That is for international transactions. And so effectively, if you are importing more than what you export, then it means that you should have more, buffer of dollars. And when it turns out that your dollar is depleting, it has a long way, to distort, the economy. In a sense that at the point where the demand for the dollar is not there to settle international transactions, you will see the pressure on the exchange rate. And that is why recently we've had our foreign exchange rate, going up. But for going to IMF, obviously, it is an international organization, and it is expected that it's more or less sort of insurance, which we contribute to the fund. So in times of hardship, obviously, the country may fall on the IMF, and especially when you are hard up, because if you look at the options for financing this balance of payment, one of them earlier on used to be our visit to the Eurobond market. But then you realize that, the Eurobond market has become tighter for us because of the downgrade that we recently had. And so government being a rational, should I say rational being, may not, be prepared to go and borrow at that high cost anyway. So therefore, they turn up to be going to the IMF. And so effectively, that is the essence of it. And when you go to the IMF, being an insurance, I normally relate that to having a house and then taking, fire insurance. Obviously, the insurance company may ensure that at least, if for nothing at all, you have fire extinguisher. The same way when the IMF, comes to your environment, you seek rescue from them, and they come to your environment. In order not for you to go back to them regularly, they expect that you put some measures in place. But usually, those measures are, targeting more or less revenue generation and then possibly looking at expenditure cuts. But then what happens is that when they put up these short-term to medium measures, what the fund doesn't do, which this time, I think I'm expecting, a bit, of that in some of the conditions they give us, is how the government, spends. I.e., I'm looking at them targeting certain expenditure lines of the government. So, for instance, if government should reduce the number of ministers, it should be one of the conditions. What I've realized that if you take the recent visits that we've had with them, 2011 and then 2015, they give us all the measures. Introduce these tax lines, ensure that, you increase your tax levels with expenditure, make sure that you don't raise your budget deficit above 5%, work within the 5%. All these things are expenditure cut measures. But then they should understand that the country, out of these expenditure cuts and revenue enhanced measures is going to generate money. And out of this generation, how do you spend the money? And if you don't put the government on that line, you will get that wastage again. And the visit to IMF is going to be cyclical. And so, for me, they should touch on some of the expenditure lines of the government, and that should be able to go a long way to help us.
Let me just say that we've been joined by Dr. Patrick Assuming, who is an economist with the University of Ghana Business School as well. Doc, thank you for joining us this morning. So there are some who have raised concerns about the fact that we aren't able to grow a lot of homegrown policies to deal with our economic challenges, and we are often too quick to run to the IMF or run for international support. There are those who say we aren't disciplined enough, and that if we could block the leakages and the loopholes, we would be in the capacity to deal with our economic challenges. From where you sit, do we have the right structures to ensure that we achieve that? Because the general sense is that, well, we're going to the IMF now. Once we go, there's a likelihood that we will go again if we do not, develop a homegrown policy to deal with our current situation. From where you sit, how do we have the right structures to be self-reliant when it comes to solving our economic issues?
Okay, so let me start by saying good morning to you and the viewers, and also to my colleague, Prof. Mensah. So I think in terms of whether we have the right structures, I think we've passed some of the best laws and we put some of the structures in place. Look, recently we've had the Fiscal Responsibility Act that will ensure that we put a cap on how much government is, how much government can exceed its revenue, government spending can exceed its revenue. That's the deficit. But you also realize that for Ghana, we should never praise ourselves for having some of the brilliant laws. We've always had problems with implementation. So, the premise of your question, whether we have the homegrown solutions, I think in terms of having the ideas, in terms of what has to be done, it's pretty obvious to me that both the previous government and the current government, there's no question about knowing exactly what has to be done as a country. It's always comes down to whether we will have the discipline to do it. So in terms of the fact that the government has to cut its spending and then raise more revenue, that is well known. And then if you even think about the long-term things that we need to do, which is because Prof. Mensah was explaining to you that if you look at the balance of payment support, it primarily comes from the imbalance between what we import and what we export. So, and both major political parties, when they've been in power, they know ultimately we have to ensure that we are generating more exports and we are diversifying our export base and we are changing what we export from a primary product to manufactured products. So it is known. So usually when we go to the IMF, we always know what is coming, because we know that when we go to the IMF, this is what they stand for. They are going to ask you to do fiscal consolidation, cut government spending, and raise more revenue. And if you recall, even before we went to the IMF program the last time, the 2015 one, we had what we call homegrown solutions. At that time, if you look at what we eventually implemented under the IMF and the homegrown solutions that we had before we went to the IMF, there's not much difference. The only problem is that historically, we haven't shown the discipline and the commitment to stick to the plan. But when we go to the IMF, the investor world out there knows that the IMF, when they are in town, it's like the headmaster who's going to crack the whip and make sure that we are towing the line and following the plan. That is why whenever we go to the IMF, you see that even before the IMF has come to down, some of the indicators start improving. The investor sentiment start changing, because they know that once we go to the IMF is going to ensure that you are following the plan and doing what you have to do. So for me, it's not really a measure of, domestically, we're not having the ideas and the plans. It just comes to the people who are in power and being committed and staying the course and having the discipline not to overspend.
Interesting. So, Prof, what is it for you? What will show that level of commitment, or what will put us on that trajectory to achieving that kind of self-reliance that we want? Yes, there are those who say that, well, there are over 100 countries who are going to the IMF for support. There's global crisis. Ghana is not the only country affected. And there are those who also argue that, yes, Ghana is not the only country affected, but considering where we are and who we are, the resources available to us, we should be able to have a better standing than some of these countries. What will put us on that trajectory?
Well, it has to do with discipline. But let me also state categorically that every country is exposed to, let me say, two different types of shocks. One is domestic shock, economic shocks, and then two, international, shocks. Now, usually, and then we have natural, disaster kind of shocks that most of the time countries are exposed to. But usually, I don't normally measure the performance of an economic manager based on, the local or the domestic, shocks. Those ones are easily managed. And let's assume that we're to have a problem in-house without this international effect. And of course, being an imported economy, we are strongly integrated to the global economy. And so if I'm to ask to judge the performance of government and say, hey, economic management team is doing well, I'm going to judge them based on how they, maneuver within these international shocks. But rather the local one, I won't, measure you up to that, because in the worst case you can print money. In the worst case you can increase, taxes to solve some of the problem. But then the international one that you don't easily have control over, how do you align your policies? You see, I always say that as a country we need to understand our structural problem. The structural problem by, effectively understanding that. And when it comes to food, we have problem with it. When it comes to roads, we have problem with it. How do we solve this problem? We had policies that were being run out. As a result of fiscal indiscipline, most of these policies are run, but then we don't realize, the impact that these policies are making to the environment. We keep on boasting of how much we spent on these policies. But then the question is, are they really making impact? No. If you take, for instance, planting for food and jobs, if I were to be the agric minister, my policy will not target exotic food. I will not target lettuce, I will not target cabbage and all those. Basically, typical household in Ghana, we consume maize. A typical household in Ghana consume rice. So if you ask me, this agriculture policy should target only maize, only rice across the country. So that at least, that food will be available. And I'm very sure, economically, if that aspect of, the economy turns out to be cheaper, all other things will be cheaper, relative. So effectively, if you are running out of policy, you have to prioritize it. So for me, it has to do with fiscal indiscipline. And for us to go on that trajectory, like I said, when IMF comes in, they tell us to put up revenue enhanced measures. They tell us to, cut down expenditure. And then, bam, they leave us. Immediately they leave us, as for the expenditure, you've told us to cut it. But then which lines of expenditure do we go into? You realize that, we had IMF, change of government, another government comes, tells you, we are on top speed. I'm on top speed to what? To solve Ghanaian problem. And quickly, put up about 110 ministers, which will all call for expenditure. At the end of the day, we might be spending within the line, within the target, the deficit target that IMF has given us, if for nothing at all, the projected target. But then, those expenditure lines, are they, lines that will build up into revenue generation? Those are the problems I always ask myself. So it has to do with, fiscal discipline, but then IMF should go further to propose certain expenditure lines for us. For instance, if you take the current visit, I would have, loved to see IMF telling us that effectively government should reduce its, size or number of ministers, because they are all, expenditure lines that pull up, the economy. So effectively, they have to go a bit further and stop that diplomatic touches on economic activities.
Prof, so what you're saying, the IMF makes some prescriptions, worst case scenario, attaches conditions to this particular bailout they're giving Ghana. When the program is ended, they leave. And then we are back to square one. And that usually is a challenge. So I'm asking about more sustainable measures. As a country, as a sovereign nation, what we can do for ourselves to ensure that we don't get back to this point.
You see, we have to hold people responsible. We have to hold people responsible. At the point of exiting the IMF, I remember, a Fiscal Responsibility Act passed, through Parliament. And this act was to keep us in line as expected. And during the COVID, the finance minister went back to the Parliament to review this, act, which is pushing us to spend, within, the IMF lines that they gave us. But then in the end, after the review, we've not back to, bring back, this, act. At the end of the day, if you cause financial, mess or you cause financial loss to the state, how are you punished? How do we make it public? Effectively, if we go out there to, punish people for causing financial loss to the state, whether direct or indirect. Direct or indirect means that there are some people who will dip their hands in public coffers. If you are looking for those ones, you won't get them. But then if you want to go indirect, certain decisions that a minister has taken may cause financial loss to the state. How do we punish this minister? Effectively, if we punish the minister and make it public, I think it will go a long way to deter others from doing same. So it's the way it comes to for losses in the state. So I think we have to go back to the point where we'll crack the whip, where a minister indirectly causes financial loss, not the ministers alone. If you are a spending officer in this economy and you cause financial loss to the state, you need to be punished, and the punishment must be made public. So if your assets are confiscated, it has to be made public. So to me, we shouldn't wait and say, we're going to look at direct a financial loss to the state. The person needs to, divert some money. The person needs to, at the end of the day, make sure that he dip his hands directly into the coffers of the country. No, you won't get them. But then there are some indirect, losses that we are incurring, and those ones must be blocked. And about how do we block them? It is about punishing people and making sure that you make it public.
Prof, and Doc, I'll be coming back to you shortly, but let me just take Doc's thoughts on this. Prof, rather, there have been calls for the finance minister to be sacked. There are some who say that if he would not resign, the president should sack him. But on the front page of the Republic Press this morning, Tarzan is asking that, and that's Dr. Charles Rekubrobi, he is asking that the finance minister is not included in the delegation that will engage the IMF because the finance minister was not for our going to the IMF. Are you in agreement with this? And if the finance minister does not lead the negotiations, then who will then ensure that whatever conditions, whatever decisions that are made concerning this particular bailout will be ensured? Clearly, it doesn't work. Or is it possible? Can it work that way?
Yeah, the economic management is a team. So excluding the finance minister won't change anything. But let me also indicate that the finance minister's posture is the posture of the president. The reason why I'm saying this is that, remember the inaugural speech of the president, he indicated to Ghanaians that he's in a hurry to solve Ghanaian problems. And being in a hurry tells you that you may have to adapt an aggressive posture. An aggressive posture
All right. Sorry, we'll try to reconnect, Prof. But let me come to you, Dr. Isuming there. Your thoughts on that as well. Do we say that because of the finance minister's posture about Ghana going to the IMF, he should not be part of the negotiations when he's part of a team that is supposed to ensure that the program is a success eventually when Ghana is able to secure that bailout?
Posture normally challenged. And so the posture, aggressive posture.
Okay, so I'm hearing Prof now. I'm not sure what's happening. Hello? Hello, Dr. Isuming.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Prof, I can hear you. Sorry, we lost you, so I moved to Dr. Isuming. I'll come back to you shortly. Doc, if you can hear me, Let me take your quick response to the same issue that Prof is dealing with now.
Well, I think the finance minister's posturing doesn't help. I mean, for anybody looking out there, somebody who has vehemently spoken against going to the IMF to go and lead the program in the discussion, people will have the impression that he is probably not committed to the IMF program and so on and so forth. So I think there's a legitimate question to be asked about whether the finance minister should be the one leading our program. But, you know, as long as he is the finance minister, I mean, it's difficult to see us going to an IMF program without him being part. So if the idea is that he should step aside from the IMF discussions, then essentially you are saying that he should be removed as finance minister. But I want to touch on the earlier question you asked about why we keep going to the IMF and whether the IMF will solve, you know, eventually what you have to do to return. I think we need to understand from the outset that there's a disconnect between the real problems of the Ghanaian economy and the solutions we get from the IMF. Okay. The IMF is just going to help us to achieve some short-term economic stability. If you look at what we are going for, think about it. We are going for balance of payment support. And we know where the balance of payment problems come from. They come from importing too much and exporting so little. And yet the solutions that we'll be giving really be to address our fiscal challenges. I mean, there's some aspect of our balance of payment that is influenced by how we manage our economy, the finances. But the root cause is that we have to do something to ensure that we are producing more and exporting more. And then we are doing more import substitution. So some of the things that we are importing that we could be producing locally, we are no longer importing them. So I think when you go to an IMF and people think that the IMF is going to solve our long-term problems, it wouldn't. So if you go and every time we haven't addressed that side of the problem, that side where, you know, we have to be producing more and exporting more, the IMF is not going to help us to be doing that. So let's get that clear at the outset. Then the other thing is about what, you know, the structural problems with government finances, which is also related to what is happening with the domestic production. The IMF, you know, however effective their solution will be, it appears that the Ghanaian economy or our political leaders, we have developed some resistance to the IMF medication. Because it appears that while they are watching,
hello, Prof.
While they are watching, so while the IMF is in town,
yes,
we pretend to be doing what we are supposed to be doing.
Hello, I'm here.
Right, Prof. I was just alerting you to kindly mute because there was some bit of interference there, so we could hear Doc clearly.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we even the fiscal consolidation that the IMF is supposed to help us with. While they are in town, we pretend that we are doing all the right things we should be doing. The moment they leave, we return to our old way. So I think, first, you know, the people of Ghana themselves, we have to learn to demand accountability from our government so that when the IMF is not there, they will still follow and do the things that we expect them to do to keep government books in the balance properly. But ultimately, we have to ensure that the long-term problems, which is the productive capacity, the fact that we are not adding value to our agricultural products enough, and the fact that even for food, things that we should be producing enough for ourselves, we are not producing, those issues have to be addressed. Otherwise, we will return to the IMF even after the current program we are entering.
Indeed, what you say is true, and the information minister did mention that this particular IMF support is not to solve our general economic challenge, and that's why he mentions that there will still need to be more work in terms of revenue mobilization.
IMF has never solved our economic challenge.
Yes, and so and I'm just saying, so he admits, he says that, look, this is just for balance of payment support. We need to do well when it comes to private sector development. We also need to do well when it comes to revenue mobilization. Okay, and so yes, he does admit that we have an issue there. It brings me to the point of the e-levy, because a lot of Ghanaians feel deceived. And because we were told it was going to be either or. And then the e-levy was implemented. And then we were told, well, we're not getting as much as we would want from it, so we're going to the IMF for support. And then government releases a statement and says, well, the finance ministry releases a statement and says, well, despite our decision to go to the IMF, we will still keep implementing the e-levy. There are a lot of Ghanaians who are unhappy with that. And so it's safe to say then that a lot of people will still try to avoid paying the e-levy. At what point do you think government should say, okay, let's just let the e-levy go and find other ways of mobilizing revenue? That's to you, Prof.
Yes, indeed, that's a legitimate question that is expected of the typical Ghanaian. You know, to say that you opt for the IMF or you go in for the e-levy was more or less a political packaging. Let me put it that way. Clearly, when you engage the IMF, before you even engage them, you should be able to position yourself to the extent by indicating that you are ready for the program. And one of the means of, positioning yourself is to put up certain revenue enhanced measures. To ensure that at least, if for nothing at all, we are in difficulty, but we have started something. So we may need your help to support us to get things, better. So effectively, this government knew very well that we'll go to IMF. And therefore, even if Ghanaians accept the e-levy or not, we will go to IMF and e-levy will not be cancelled. Remember, government has been struggling for revenue generation. And look at how difficult it was for them to introduce this e-levy. It has gone back and forth as a result of this hung parliament over the past 5 months. Remember, e-levy was supposed to start in January, but it couldn't. And then it ended up starting somewhere in May. We have had about 5 months loss in it. So effectively, the difficulty in introducing that tax handle, if government should remove it and then come back, it will be difficult for government. So government, I don't think, is going to remove that e-levy, even if now that we find ourselves with IMF. But let me also tell you that e-levy signals, right, was there clearly. And the indication is that even if the e-levy was to come in place, we will still have gone to IMF. Let's go back to the budget that was read in 2022. Clearly, this administration declared 37 billion Ghana cedis worth of budget deficit. Out of the 37 billion, for the first time, I always say, we normally finance budget deficit 50-50, almost 50-50%, 50% domestic financing, and then almost 50%, international financing. But this time round, government tilted, government foresaw the pressures on the international market for us. So even before the downgrading, so they tilted the financing and they oriented it towards the local market. So out of the 37 billion, we were going to finance 27 billion from the local market. Now let me tell you, so the 27 billion, if government should put up a revenue enhanced measure like, the e-levy, which was, expected to give us around 7 billion, if you deduct that 7 billion from the 27 billion, it will be left with 20 billion to be tapped into from the local market. Clearly, the local market wasn't even favorable. Interest rate, was going up. Inflation was, started going up. And then if you look at exchange rate, it has also started going up. So where do you think government will get the 20 billion financing from? It would have been difficult to get it from the local market. At a point in time, even government tried to raise,
Hello?
target. So the 20 billion would have been financed from the international market. And the soft spot is to seek insurance. And that is why, IMF, came in. And I'm not surprised that we are going to IMF because of all these numbers. So even if the e-levy was to give us a 7 billion, we would have gone to IMF anyway. And so I'm telling Ghanaians that government would not remove, the e-levy. And for sure, e-levy is one of the trump card on the table. to engage the IMF. So I don't think, government is going to remove it.
Yeah, in fact, we've received a communication from the finance ministry to that effect. So amidst all of this, there are demands by teacher unions and other worker unions for government to give them a cost of living allowance. So they say, well, we're also struggling. Inflation is high. Things are getting expensive by the day. We aren't paid enough. We need some cushioning. Some have said this is not the right time.
Well, I think for now, it should be the right time because with the E-levy, right, government should be able to maneuver through some of these difficulties because we've been to, such IMF engagement without any tax handle. And then after the engagement that we started introducing, these tax handles. But for this one, we are lucky at least. There has been implementation of the E-levy, and I believe that if government, sit down clearly and look at the, effective way of implementing the E-levy, it should be able to maneuver its way through these difficulties at the labor front.
So, Doc, if I get you right, you're saying that money accrued from the E-levy could be used to handle these allowances that the
part of it should be able to be used for some of these difficulties, solve these problems.
Prof, I'll come to wrap up with you shortly, but we've been joined by Isaac Donko, I beg your pardon. He's chairman of the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana. So grateful to have you here this morning. You're also demanding cost of living allowance. Is it pegged at 20% of your take home? Hello? Hello, Mr. Donko. Kindly unmute your device, sir.
Is that okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
That's good.
So,
good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Did you get my question, please?
Come again with your question, please.
Okay, so I was asking, we've heard from the teacher unions, they want 20% of their salary as cost of living allowance. You're also demanding some allowances. Is yours also pegged at 20% of your salary?
Yes, before I answer your question, let me take the opportunity to extend my greetings to your listeners and viewers, as well as my members across Ghana in all public universities in Ghana. Yes, it is true that senior staff of public universities in Ghana, living conditions are now deteriorating. We cannot go to the market. We cannot go to the pump stations. We can't pay our children's school fees. Our hospital bills are nothing to write home about. For that reason, we are asking the state, for that matter, the government, to question us by way of giving us COLA, that is 20%. So you are right, we are demanding for 20% COLA to question our living conditions.
So, I mean, we heard from Nat Tewu prior to the government's decision to go to IMF. Are you one of those who is just cashing in on government's decision to go to the IMF to throw in your demands?
No, we are not cashing in. The Money Union, that is organized labor, and GEC, on 1st May, made such appeal to the states that the living conditions in Ghana is not good at the moment. So government should help the states or the workers by way of giving them COLA. So we are not just cashing in, but we are telling the government that we are suffering. What they gave us last year, that's 7%, is not good enough. So they should top it up.
And so we know that teachers are on strike. Schools across the country have been closed. Are you threatening a strike as well?
Yes, we're giving them ultimatum up to next week Wednesday. If nothing is heard from government, we are also going to lay down our tools.
Have you started any proper negotiations? Are you talking to any representatives of government, the employment minister? Has there been any official communication or sit down?
We've done what we can do, and it's up to them to invite us for a meeting. So we are waiting for them.
So you've written officially?
That's why we're giving them. Yes, we've written to them. You are waiting for their invitations. If they extend it to us, we will go and sit down with them. If they don't, we are going to advise ourselves.
So tell us your association, Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, what exactly do you do? What does your membership comprise of?
We are mostly administrators of public universities, IT persons in public universities, hospital staff, that's the nurses, fire services, all the non-teaching staff in the public universities are members of Senior Staff Association.
Thank you very much for joining the program. Isaac Donko there, he's chairman, Senior Staff Association in Universities of Ghana. I just brought him in because of that cooler aspect we were talking with Professor Lord Mensah. So, Prof, clearly we know there's a global crisis. We were hit by the pandemic. I mean, nobody denies that. But would you say that we wouldn't be here if we had managed our economy better? Or could we have managed our economy better such that the external shocks wouldn't have been felt as much as we're feeling it now?
You mean, does this question come to me?
Yes, it comes to you, Prof. Yes.
Right. Clearly, yes, indeed. If we were to implement most of the policies outlined in this administration's manifesto to the latter, even if we were to go to IMF, it wouldn't have been as quick as we've had it now. One of the policies that I think is not yielding and that has taken us to IMF is planting for food and jobs. If planting for food and jobs was to produce as expected, we would have had control over food inflation, and that would have built up in controlling other indicators when it comes to this economy. And so for me, it's about how we failed in getting some of the output on the expenditure lines that we're putting out. Because, like I indicated earlier, this administration has been aggressive, and the posture has been aggressive all this while. The expenditure has been all out, but then the corresponding revenue generation that is expected of it are not forthcoming for the past 5 years. And I tell you that if we were, because that would have solved the structural problems that we have, and one of the main structural problems is how we are not able to keep our foreign reserves, because at the end of the day, if you produce and your importation goes down, your foreign reserves will be kept as it's supposed to be. And so for me, I think it has to do with failure in policies that are that were rolled out by the administration.
Would you say this government was overambitious?
Yeah, the government has been overambitious. I mean, if you look at the expenditure lines, and that has been the posture of the president all this while. He indicated that he's in a hurry to solve the problems of Ghanaians by establishing even about I think 7 ministries. We had Ministry for Monitoring and Evaluation. Corruption was still ongoing. We have ministries that are supposed to provide some basic amenities for agriculture facilities to work, but then they were not working as expected. So for me, it has to do with the way we spent our way through, and that is what has brought us this far.
Finally, and wrapping up with you, what are you looking forward to as our engagements with the IMF begin? You've mentioned some of the conditions that you hope to see, which includes cutting down the size of government. But besides that, what would you like to see also in terms of what government puts on the table in being able to secure this particular bailout?
Yeah, of course. We're going to have several benefits. Some of them are going to be soft, they're going to be, hard. But then in the end, I'm expecting government to be disciplined. We shouldn't, take the IMF as an advantage to leverage on the IMF engagement to borrow more. And I can see people are jumping because our yields on the market have started coming down. And so we think that would be an opportunity to go and borrow more. That would have even escalated our problem. I believe that engagement with IMF is good. It's going to put us on a temporary, situation to soften, the situation on the ground. But then they shouldn't give us that kind of leverage, which will push us to borrow more. The conditionalities that IMF will give us, in a way, they're telling us that cut your coat according to your size. So whether we have IMF or we don't have IMF, as a poor country like Ghana, we should be conserved and stop the aggressive posturing when it comes to the budget that we put out there. And so effectively, those are the things I may want to see, going forward.
I appreciate your time here this morning. Professor Lord Mensah is with the University of Ghana Business School, and we've been talking about government engagement with the IMF and all the other strings attached. We also had Isaac Donko, who is chairman of the Senior Staff Association Universities of Ghana, speaking to us about their demands for the cost of living allowance. And we also had Dr. Esuming, who is also with the University of Ghana Business School. Now, let's move on now and head to the Bono East region. We are bringing you an update on the strike situation. Yesterday, we heard from a headmistress there about what was happening, how the kids were faring despite the absence of the teachers. This morning, Anas Abit joins us again. Hello, Anas. Is the story any different this morning?
It is different from what we saw yesterday. This morning, I've been to 4 different schools here in the municipality. I've been to the Al Khairiya Basic School, also to the Islamic Basic School, to the Jaco Basic School, and then currently I'm at the Texman Zongo LA School, where all the classrooms come to meet here and lock with no sight of students. In all the schools I have visited, we have, unlike yesterday where we saw the students and then some teachers today, all the schools I have visited having their doors under lock, like you see here. The doors are all locked, and I see only a few of the people or children around the community playing football here and there, and none of them is sported in school uniform in all the areas I've visited. And the head teachers whom we met yesterday in some of the schools we taught are not also in school like we saw yesterday. So the situation is entirely different from what we are seeing with no students or pupils in school, and all the schools have been being under lock, unlike what we saw yesterday during our round.
And so this is clearly not in accordance with the directive from the Ghana Education Service, because the schools were asked to remain open.
Exactly, Bernice. I remember yesterday when I spoke with the headmistress of the Islamic Basic Schools, Madam Isiama, she told me they've asked the children to be monitoring the various news platforms, TV and various radio stations. And as and when they hear about the schools, the strike action being over, then they will. And I think that is the message of this education are giving to the people, because they say that the number of children in the various schools are huge, and as one person or a single individual, there's no way they'll be able to control and ensure that the students or pupils are safe. So from the directive or from the message some of the headmasters gave yesterday, I believe that contributed into what we are seeing today, where most of these schools are not opened and the head teachers are themselves not around to speak to us. I just spotted one car parking. I suspect that is the headmaster.
Our feed is frozen, and Asabit was just updating us as a car drove through the compound of that school. But we'll keep our eyes there, especially because there are children around who need to be kept safe and their welfare clearly monitored. So we'll be bringing you that here on the AM show. Coming up shortly, though, we have a conversation on security and the threats of terrorism. Before that, hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks and Awake Drinking Water. Text a 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# option 2. *780# option 2 and follow the prompt on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks and more instantly. Don't waste time. Just grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks and Awake Drinking Water and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform. And this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply. Now, a person who is not required to register for VAT may voluntarily apply to be registered. A voluntary applicant shall be registered as a taxable person where the Commissioner General is satisfied that the person has a fixed place of abode or business or reasonably believes that the person keeps proper accounting records related to any business activity carried on by that person, and the person submits regular and reliable tax returns or reasonably believes that the person is a fit and proper person to be registered. Well, let's take a quick breather now. When we come back, we'll be bringing you that conversation on terrorism. Do stay.
Day and we're here together with a man of many things, a statesman definitely. He's a two-time Chief of Defense Staff. He has been National Security Advisor to the President Mills administration of blessed memory, former President Mills. He also was, interestingly, in 1963, the best overseas student at Sandhurst. And you know, when it comes to military academies, that is the finest of the fine. He is a man of many things, as I've already put forward, and he joins us today, this wet day, for a discussion. And I signal wet day because it will get into our discussions. Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah is our guest. Thank you so much for allowing us into your home and for giving us audience.
Thank you, Ben.
Let's start off with the rain. So all of this is happening en route here. The rain started, and before long, all the routes we were using were flooded, coming to your home. And per what I have heard as of now, Christian Village Circle, the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Kanishi, other parts of Accra, the usual, are flooded. And it's just been about, what, 2 hours of rain, and the capital is flooded in so many different places. Just this morning as well, I was reading about how certain places in Australia were flooded, but here's the difference. These areas in Australia that got flooded had received in a weekend the rain that they would get in a month.
Huge.
So that's the difference. But here it rains for sometimes 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and the place is getting flooded. Let's start with a very basic matter like flooding. What is your take? Has it always been this way?
As we increase in population, of course, we generate more waste, hard waste, solid waste. And because you don't have any better way of getting rid of the waste, most of the time when it rains, other people dump the waste in the drains. They drop them there. When you go to Makola, which I did a couple of weeks ago, and I don't go there, UTC area there. All the drains are choked with human waste.
Right.
Because we don't clear them. So when it rains...
Because desilting is not done often and not
it's
properly.
not done at all. In fact, it's not done at all. And I was saying that one day we've got to get the military, make a military operation. Otherwise, you will get worse situation than we are seeing right now. In 2015, remember, we had a similar situation where we lost about 115 people.
Right, right.
There was an inquiry into the cause of the flooding and the kill.
The June 3rd incident.
That's right. And I appeared before the committee, I think fire service, to give evidence. I've never seen, and I said, if this situation is not handled, one of these days, fishermen like my parents in Winnipeg will have to drag dead bodies from the sea. So let's rain like we are going to look at, but suppose it rain like the past, overnight. I swear, we'll get up and see bodies floating on the Kole Lagoon. But we are not attending to the needs, social needs. I mean, we know, but for some reason, we are unable to deal with the problem. So that is why we are getting this situation. Every time there's something like this flooding, we have to go back and think of the cause, not the effect. The effect, we are feeling it, but what caused it? Human waste dump in the drain. The drains are not, they are choked.
But the engineers will tell you, and I do know you're not a purely technical person when it comes to this, but you have at least the benefit of history coming into this era. Some of the engineers will tell you that, look, the quotient of, or if you look at the percentage of what causes the flooding in terms of the human impact, people dumping refuse and all of that in places where they shouldn't, it may contribute maybe 5 to 10%. The rest of it is other things. For example, building on waterways, proper desilting not being done.
Yes.
The structure is basically not being in place. That leads to the flooding.
It is true. I mean, let them go to the wager, went to Winnipeg before the toll. Now the toll is no more there. Every time we have a little rain, the soil cascades from the hill and blocks the Accra Winnipeg Road.
Right.
Every time. I'm not an engineer, but I've got a lot of common sense. Somebody that's going to build on top of the hills, taking off the topsoil. So when it rains, all the topsoil comes down. A little rain. And yet, we have engineers here. They're telling me they cannot resolve that issue. I'm an infantry officer, I'm not an engineer. But common sense tells me that because they have removed the topsoil, we can even just grass the top. If you grass it, the water will come down. It won't bring the soil along with it. But for some reason, I mean, Africa, I don't know what's wrong with us. I'm someone who believes in solution to problems. I believe in that. But somehow, politicians come to power. They will know in 4-8 years, they will go away. Let me see what I can get out of Ghana and get out. They are not people who were born leaders. That's the problem we have. We don't have leaders. We have Ghanaians like you and me who said opportunities like going to make money in parliament until they go and get a land cruiser or something.
We don't have leaders.
No, we don't have leaders.
What do we have then?
Politicians who see a chance to make money, they make money. They don't. When I work with Nkrumah, I was a captain when Nkrumah was a patrol. And I work in the Flagstaff House, now Jubilee House. And I saw leadership at work.
What exactly did you see that makes him stand out for you?
It was, leaders are born.
They are not made?
No. I've got Richards, they are here. One is a doctor, surgeon. 4-5 years, I asked me, what do you want to be? He said, I want to be a doctor. The courage of this little boy, I can't believe it. You give him injection, he doesn't weep. When he qualified, I said, be a physician, just writing papers, but I don't do that. I want to be a surgeon. You can see the leadership. Look, I took him to Gonda Barracks one day. Lawrence was there. He was, I think, 11 years old, 1982. Went to an armored car. He came to the armored car. If the gun, was a gun pointing towards Wallace, and he will go and press it. You can see leadership in this man. The other two, no, I wouldn't call them leaders. So people come to politics in Ghana to make money. They don't come to lead. You don't come, you lead by example.
Since Nkrumah, have we had any such leader?
It's difficult to get anybody like Nkrumah. I mean, they're not only Nkrumah, Sukarno, Nehru. You saw these people.
Egypt, right.
Egypt, Nehru, NASA. You see them, they were leaders. In Ghana here, you see, I'm looking at our leaders. Apart from Nkrumah, I can't get anybody to compare him that level. First I met him was 1951, and I was with him in the boarding school in Agona and Sabah. I had Nkrumah. There were no phones, no mobile phones, nothing. But rumor that he was coming there, and I ran away from the school without an exit to see Nkrumah. It was Christ coming to Jerusalem, and me climbing a huge almond tree to see Nkrumah. It was like that, you know. I can't believe the scene. The crowd.
Right.
He wasn't a big man, but full of power, full of passion. We don't have them anymore. People go to make money, buy the Land Cruiser. When we were a poor country, like we are, you buy Land Cruisers. Jesus Christ. You don't do that. You so basically like the flooding we are talking about. Spend the money to build a country. Rwanda had a civil war. I'm now going wide. 1994. And Paul Kagame became president. Through war, through blood. Go and see Rwanda right now compared with Ghana. You know, so when we're a leader, it stands out. So what those we have, I wouldn't call them leaders. And a leader, you serve to lead. That's the motto of Sandhurst, the school I went to. You serve to lead.
Talking about leadership, it's been 62 years now since we became a republic. The 1st of July marks, I mean, it's commemorative now, but in the past we would mark it as Republic Day.
Yes.
Becoming a republic meant that we could wean ourselves off the leadership of the Queen and all of that. We have become a full-fledged
independent
nation.
That's right.
Sovereign, independent in the Committee of Nations. But when you look at Ghana today, does it show that we are this independent? I mean, look at the many things we have to battle with. We're going back to the IMF. The 18th time that our country is going to the International Monetary Fund. When you look today at the inflationary rate, it's pegged at around 28%. Johns Hopkins professor puts it at 48, 49%. We're looking at a liter of fuel selling at over 14 cedis. Diesel prices skyrocketing. You look at the exchange rate, the figures are nothing to write home about. The cost of living is something else. 62 years after attaining Republican status. Is this what you would have expected?
It's been great disappointment. And the whole idea about politics gets sour in my mouth. You were not politicians. You were a colony under Britain when you became independent. We all happy thinking that we became independent, Ghana will be free, everything will be there for us. Not knowing that it imposes obligation on us. On us, like you marrying and leaving your father. What if father will come and do what? You are a grown-up man, go and manage your affairs. And Nkrumah said, we will show to the world that we can manage our own
We are
affairs.
capable of managing our own affairs. Right.
And he showed it. We became independent. Like you said, we were independent country in 1957, but still the Queen had power over us through the Governor General, Lord Listerwood, but Arden Clark, who was the governor, independent. Lord Listerwood became governor. So Nkrumah became a president after the referendum on the republic status, and we thought things were moving fine. So Nkrumah is somebody that you wouldn't know him. When I was traveling with Madame Nkrumah in the plane from London to 82, I was sitting next to her the whole flight.
You mean Fatty Nkrumah?
Fatty Nkrumah. And I asked her, Madam, are you telling me that your husband didn't build you in a house here or in Egypt? He said, not even one room to cook to feed my children. That is the mental state of Nkrumah.
So he didn't come to
make money.
Make money out of
He said, if he build Ghana well, everybody, not only his children, that's what I believe in. The people that I have paid their school fees today, if I give you, they will tell you. But I've been done because a man stopped and said, General, are you aware you pay my school fees? Me? He said, yes, you did. I can't remember. He said, I was going to fancy him. And I came to you 2009. Somebody said, go and see the general. He came, I came. He didn't pay my fees for a term, 2 terms, but you pay it for the whole senior high school education in fancy him. Right. And I swear by the Quran, by the Bible, I can't remember. That's the kind of people we need to build in Ghana here. People who love their country, who love ordinary human beings, not only their children. You know, and this is you learn. But you must have this quality in you. President Mahama, let me tell you this. 2008, we were going to become vice president to Atamelos. But Rollins said no. Somebody told him, go and see General Mensa. I can swear by the Bible, Quran, you meet him, you ask him whether it happened. He came here and asked me to help to get to see President, talk to him, to late President Rollins on his behalf. I promised I would do it. Asked Dr. Beho whether what I'm saying true or false. I went to see Rollins with Beho to appeal to him to allow me to choose him as vice president. Became president, put an elbow through my chest, pushed me aside. You don't do that.
So John Dramani Mahama basically got the running mate slot by coming to you to intervene on his behalf, because former President Rawlings, his soul rest in peace, did not want him.
Yes.
And did not want Mills to make him running mate.
Yes.
And you did that. You intervened.
I saw him evening, around 6, somebody by my gate, see-through gate, and I walked to him. Honorable, I never seen him before, never met him before. I've seen him on TV. Come, sit down. We sit down here. But see, they were saying, I know how much you have it in whatever language. Fancy is, Sama when also in Chedu.
Ah, yeah.
The kindness in me is unbelievable. People say, but I orally, you see, we don't have kindness in our hearts.
So in other words, you did this for him, and you say when he came to power, he elbowed you away. What exactly was the reaction advisor, like?
No. I mean, I've learned many things in life, Ben. 85 years, I've learned a lot. Through a lot of things. When you hurt me, I don't feel it. I mean, I just move on. I don't feel it, but I know that what goes round comes round. Goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. Psalm 23. I know I'm not heavily religious, but the Bible, I follow it tremendously. So coming back to our situation here, politics hasn't helped Ghana at all. In fact, I was quoting Paul Kagame in Rwanda. He says he's a dictator. If he's a dictator, you build up Rwanda, you're not stealing money, who cares?
Has democracy helped us?
It hasn't helped us a bit. Look at where
democracy hasn't helped us. I mean, look at our checkered history. We have a very checkered history as a country.
Yes.
I mean, many regimes, military regimes, SMC 1 and 2. Yes. Before that, we had the NMC, and we've had so many of these.
So many of them.
In our history. And then we have the PNDC. And we also have the longest sustained period
the Fourth Republic.
Of democracy in the Fourth Republic. We had the Liman era. We had other, eras with Buzia and all of that. Are you saying democracy hasn't aided us as a country?
Ben, what do we have to show for it? At Champon, we shot him at Teshi Range. And I said, we executed him. He built this place here. Today, the property here, cost 2 cedis, 50 pesos to buy. 2 cedis, 50 pesos to buy. The iron rods you see, I bought them from. I built this myself for a pittance. But democracy was supposed to enhance our life, supposed to provide the needs of society. Go to Makola, there are no toilets even there. And we are saying we are democratic. We are building a cathedral. We are doing this.
And I was just about to get to that. What do you make of that? I mean, the last time my team made a calculation, the seed money alone that we are investing in the National Cathedral, in cedi terms, is equivalent, almost equivalent to what we are spending in 2022 for one district, one factory. It boggles my mind because no country develops without industrialization. There's no history of any country that has developed without industrialization. Yet, privatization. A national cathedral, industrialization. What is your take? How relevant is our national cathedral?
And then you go to IMF looking for money. You think they are stupid to go and build a cathedral? God has told somebody maybe in a dream that he needs a place to rest. When his children on earth are without food, I bought a tin of milk for 19, almost 20 cities. That will build 8 of these houses here.
Back in your day?
Yes, back in my days. But I'm
not
currency. But I'm not prejudiced. I mean, how old am I? Am I of the last century?
Yes.
I've been living in this century. So life can't change drastically like this. Make like really, really burdensome. I was in Melcombe yesterday. Then one young man working there said, General, let's sit down. Let me ask you a question. I ended up giving, did I call you or somebody? I was there for 1 hour lecturing them. They asked me, General, where do you go from here? The pay we get, we can't live on that pay. And I said, if I couldn't feed my children, I would do anything to feed them. Become all criminals. Unless you're a criminal, you can't survive. But we need not become that. Ghana is wealthy. God has given us anything you find, where America, oil, gold, diamond, whatever. We have everything, gas. But we help foreigners to steal the money and share the money with them. We go into power to get power to cheat. You see, my parents were all illiterates. And they didn't know how to sin. Because when they read the Bible, they told them in the Bible that if you sin, you go to hell. They believe it. Today, nobody believe it. So they steal. Go to parliament and make money. We're not honest with ourselves. The basic truth is that we don't have people who have Ghana in their hearts. We don't have. And so democracy...
Not even our leaders.
No.
The president is building a cathedral for God.
If Christ was alive, Christ was going to come back. He hasn't come back yet. We are waiting. Maybe I'll be here when he comes. We ask him, would you have done that in your time? When people are hungry, you go and build edifice. That's wouldn't have done it. But somehow, you see, I don't know, and one of the biggest problems we have in Ghana here, Ben, we don't have the courage to speak the truth. Listen carefully. We don't have the courage to speak the truth.
And the truth in this instance would be what? Mind you, there's also political victimization, and sometimes if you go overboard, your position or whatever could be compromised.
Again, I told you earlier that leaders are born. There are things I've done. General Ashelas, I don't know whether you know him, Air Vice Marshal Ashelas, the oldest surviving former chief of defense staff. He asked me, Joe, where does the courage come from? The courage comes out of the way my father was fantastic. I was born like that. But also, when I'm saying something which is truthful, I don't fear. Rawlings, I had a lot of battle with him, President Rawlings. We came together, Ed can get together, because he was a tough man, I was tough. We not compromise, if you know we are right. If you know, if you are in the NPP or NDC, and the government do something which you believe it was wrong, you should get up and say, sir, this is not right. But we can't, you don't say it. How the hell do you go and buy new Land Cruisers? Today, everybody has a Land Cruiser. The military, the police, everybody, ministers, DCs, and say you are going to borrow money from IMF. I think they are stupid.
And so for you, going to the IMF is not the solution?
It's not even, you did not go there. Ben, I look at my life and say to myself, your parents were, my mother was selling plantain in the market. My father was a fisherman. As a fisherman, I decided I was going to go to school. And I paid my school fees, secondary school, all the way, nobody paid my school fees. I went to work in the port, carry cocoa. So when I went to school, I was 20 years old when I started schooling. Wow. I was shaving. But if you don't manage your affairs properly, and we should be able to manage our affairs properly. We go around looking for money. Then you spend the money on frivolous things. You say you're going to borrow money. We don't need money from IMF. When Achampo came to power, 1972, he said we're going to pay Buzier's debts because they were beheaded with corruption. IMF said, okay, go ahead. Achampo did after Nkrumah more than anybody else in infrastructure. This house here. I used to have a poultry farm behind my house. My children were bringing eggs 15, 16 every morning. The inputs were there, the feed, everything. Today, I want to buy seeds. You can't even buy seeds. I'm a Minister of Agriculture. And so Ukraine goes to war with Russia go to war with Ukraine, and we are hungry.
Right.
How? If you are going cassava, plantain, and whatever, how do you go hungry? We put our stomach in the kitchen of the Russians and the Ukrainians. So when they fight, we are hungry. It shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen. Let's look at all of these things that you're saying boil down to one thing: leadership. You've spoken about former President Mahama and maybe how sometimes our politicians are not so grateful on the back of the experience that you made mention of, the pivotal role you played in his becoming President Mills's running mate. But let's talk about the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You were his campaign manager sometime in what, 1998?
1998, when he was aspiring to become leader of the NPP. I remember I was for NPP in 1996 at Winneba.
What can you say of Akufo-Addo? How do you know him, or how have you known him in the past? And is he the same person you know now in terms of being president?
You see, politicians are never fully truthful. And you cannot rely on them. No. In the military, when Rawlings came back in after he moved the man from power, he came back. I was recalled. I had been retired by Liman, but Rawlings brought me back. I sent my wife and children to Danko Circle to their sister's house. I stayed here. I saw a soldier in the barracks, Gonda barracks. He said, "Sir, I'm your bodyguard." Ben, I don't know. I can't even. And as he slept, I stayed in my bedroom here. Well, come to shoot me, but I trusted him. You can't trust politicians. If the man came to shoot me, I would have been there lying there in a pool of blood. But I trusted him. He came, he slept here with a rifle, AK-47. And I in my bedroom.
You had the same trust for Akufo-Addo?
No, I don't trust any politician. I don't trust them.
But in 1998, you did?
You see, I learned my lesson. I had to shout in Winneba. My wife was telling me that, why are you talking here? Go and do politics if I have something to offer. So I went to politics. For that reason, I didn't like the way the parliament was behaving. So I got in there. Mike Hammer, who became MP, NDC, right. I was his opponent. And I learned a lot. The sort of hanky-panky business which goes on in politics is dirty. See, the military is a wonderful profession. And no good soldier will become a good politician. Because the lessons, you go to Sandhurst, and what? You tell lies. You are told over there that you don't go to, I mean, you don't go to politics. In uniform, you put the uniform down and go to politics. We're taking House of Lords, House of Commons, in army uniform to go and see Parliament at work. But all the police have come. President Mills, I was singling him out.
For what exactly?
For his trust in his team.
Honesty?
The team, the quality, and the Beho, myself, top of their first class diplomats. Beku Mensah, his secretary, top, first class. Others he chose. Newman, chief of staff. You know, we don't have them. Mama comes and clean them on the whole table and bring in little boy without any experience. This is how what we pay for. We didn't come in for wealth. I didn't come for anything. I came in to serve, wholeheartedly. But politicians come into power, not these days. Nkrumah was different. Nkrumah didn't make a peso. I was in London, 65.
Right.
When he came there to attend the Commonwealth Head of Government Conference, I was there. Kusiyama was the High Commissioner. He stayed in one bedroom. I was there. I saw it with my eyes. Today they hire pilots and planes and come on. And we are poor, we are hungry.
And it's interesting that you speak about, you know, hiring planes, luxury, you know, jets and all of that. But did you ever have a falling out with the current president, Akufo-Addo? And again, I go back to the point. The Akufo-Addo you knew then and the Akufo-Addo who now is our president, do you see any differences?
They are not the same. Because when you are carrying this country on your head, it's pretty heavy. When you are not carrying the head, this country.
But in terms of, I mean, yes, Shakespeare would say, heavy lies the head that wears the crown. But right. In terms of principle, what he stood for,
I'll give you an example. Last year, like September last year, what is happening today, we could see it coming.
Which is what?
When the suffering, the harsh, the demonstration, we saw it coming. When you are trained, I've trained as an intelligence officer most of my time, with the CIA, with the KGB, with this intelligence, been all over Canada, India, and what. So your knowledge of life is widespread. General Larson, he comes here quite often. He's 80, he's going to 89. The oldest chief of defense staff alive today. I'm next after him. We met here and said, let's go and talk to the president. A number of issues.
President
Akufo-Addo.
Right.
Last year, September last year. So I go to Kwame Pianim, Kwame, president. And I'm making a few tips what I want to say. He called a phone. Who was on the phone? Ochildaku.
Gabi.
Asari
Ochildaku.
Yes.
Right.
Talk to him. Arrange a meeting between us. Between me and President Akufo-Addo, as soon as they came back from General Assembly meeting in New York. I had nothing. I met Kwame. Also, why? I was driving at the traffic light, airport, survey department traffic light. I had a call on my phone. Kandapa, I know him well. I was in AP because I know them all very well.
Kandapa.
Yes. It's a financial security. Then he calls me. So, President say, I could talk to you, security advisor, and then myself and somebody else. I was driving. I asked to speak to the president, not his advisors. Issues we're going to talk about, serious issues. Then I told Ken, I'm coming with somebody. I will consult my elder colleague, I advised my General Larson, and I come back to you. When I told him, he said, we should forget. We should forget.
Did you feel disrespected by that?
We feel hurt. The president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. We are former commanders of the Ghana Armed Forces. When I come and see you, to go and see somebody, I said, no. No, we are not small boys. 85, 88, 89. We're not small boys. So we drop it.
So it appears once, I mean, they familiarize with you and all of that and gain your support, but once they get to power, it's a different ballgame.
President Akufo-Addo been to my house with his wife, Becky, this house here. When I want to campaign with him, we lost the election to Kufuor. He came to thank me. So obviously he's different. But see, I don't do things for my personal sake, no. This country, I've heard and seen a lot of terrible things. And sometimes I fear that we're going to have a big disaster on our hands. But when you speak to people, they don't seem to pay attention to you. So you're actually going to have a press conference. So we agree that if we did that, it will be confronting the president. No, let's go and see him privately and confide in him what we believe should be done. Issues like what we are saying today, we're going to talk about them. Agriculture, youth unemployment. You go walk around and see youth all over the place. I didn't go to university. O-level, I got good grade after 3.5 years in school. So 5 years. Never had a chance to go to university. But I've learned a lot in life. Not through the classroom. You don't go to science, and I did electricity, did everything in science. I've got a book here on the government, which I was studying, economics, together with the military training. So when people like these want to come and see you, like I told your mama at my gate, I walked to him and talked to him. But he said that he wouldn't talk to us, the positions we are coming from. It hurts.
Do you get the feeling that our leaders, by and large, you've cited the example of John Dramani Mahama, you've cited the example of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Is one of their foremost problems the failure to listen?
Winston Churchill once said, a leader must have the courage to speak up if he has an issue, but also have the courage to sit down and listen. Say Winston Churchill, sit down and listen. But for someone, when you get the power, you think it's got everything. But power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Lord Acton.
Who said this?
Lord Acton.
Okay. I've done a lot of literature work. When I was in the military, I retired. My children were in London. That's another issue. How I got out of Ghana to go to Britain, 1983. And my children, I went to school, went to buy all the textbooks, mathematics, from Oxford University, library, and went through them. And I've taught my children. You know, had about 8 A's and 6 B's. Doctor, I was just chasing them, letting them learn all over the place. You didn't come to Britain to fool around, to acquire knowledge. Eventually, he went to university, qualified, he's a surgeon. I don't believe in schools with big names. I did my exam. I was sitting at Bosokan with a cousin of mine. The whole night I wouldn't sleep. Mosquitoes were chopping my blood. And I would walk in the morning to Makola area there. In the middle of Makola, while Achimotans and Absatins were comfortably, I was walking, sweating like a pig in the oven. And yet I came out with grade 1, the first of its kind. I don't joke with life. Ghana doesn't have to go and beg anybody. We have everything God has given man that we properly led, we can come and build this country. I had a farm at Kwabenya, 40 acre farm. One day man sacked me. What have a farm? The beauty of my life is that when you are trained hard like that, there's nothing you cannot do. You are hard, too hard.
And it's important that you share these life lessons, especially for young ones who would be watching you. But I want us to talk about national security. But before I get into that, since we've spoken about our leaders, let's focus on the Fourth Republic. 1992 into 1993 till now, 2022, just about 3 decades. Who has been our most effective leader and who has been the least? If you had to rank them, what would be your order?
We've had
so from top to bottom.
Rawlings, Kufuor, Atamils.
So your best is Rawlings?
No, I'm just recounting the leaders that have.
Yes, so there's Rawlings, there's Kufuor, there's Atamils, there's Mahama, and there's Ekufuado.
When you look at the effect of the leadership, you see, I mean, I'm a very hard man to judge, because if I look at my own background, how hard I have to work from Winneba to Siebeko and back, I'm tough, rough. So unless you are rough, no, I don't believe in you. Look at the state of Ghana today. Look at the state of Ghana today. Who had been effective? Atame didn't live. Atame would have been effective. But you got a team, a solid team. Like a football match, you have a good captain, a good manager, but the team itself must gel, must move together.
Right.
And when you don't have a team, the Mahama's team, he sacked all the experienced ones and brought these little boys to come and replace us. You don't go to Sandhurst, you don't go to this place and come back, and then you're an ordinary person. The amount of knowledge you acquire, you make use of it.
Right.
They couldn't stand the strength together of these experienced politicians, and they couldn't, so they had to get rid of us. And the country has not benefited from that. In fact, it's been certain to see Ghana today. As yesterday, I was in Mekong. The workers sat down with me, grilling me, said, "Where do you go from here? I'll pay if you can." In the shop, I can swear. Yesterday. They just got
so for you, when you look at them, our leaders, how would you...
Nobody impresses me.
Nobody impresses
Nobody.
You? None of them?
President Rawlings, before he died, may he rest in peace, I had to sit down with him and talk a lot. I resigned from his government in anger in 1982, November 82. He left the country and went away. When I was in my house, when he called me one night, 25 years on, Sir, can I see you? I went to him at Bridge. He and I sat together to 1 o'clock. He was shouting, angry. They fooled me. Poor man, they made use of him to make money. He thought they were disciples of. They were not his disciples, and he regretted that. And it was sad to see him in that state, sitting down and thinking. It was too late. All that killed him. All that remorse, all that pain. He thought we were going to rebuild Ghana, but those who came to help him, came to use him to make money all over the place.
Do you feel he had the best opportunity to have been the most effective leader, looking at the years he had? And
he did, but unfortunately, he was too young and didn't choose the right people to assist him.
Mm. And you feel if Atta Mills had had more time, he probably would have been the best?
It would have shown. You see, Atta Mills, he wasn't a politician. Mm. He came here. I was there. I sat with him. President, you're Kofi we tell me we always speak fancy. I don't have money, but this is the idea behind it. I'm using it to show you that I'm supporting you. Maybe that's why Mr. Akufo-Addo got angry with me, because I went to support his opponent.
Mm. You feel that's why he got angry with you, upset with you?
I was walking down from Joy FM, going down. There was people who sold their spare part on the right as you go down.
Right.
The woman that used to go there and buy parts. I have an old bench here. My cars are all very old. 50s, how many? 1976, January, 46, 47 years old. And after the election, this woman was very kind to me. She was so angry. So, Papa, you destroyed the MPP. I had a video that video destroyed the MPP. Between Atta Mills and Akufo-Addo. I'm sincere. I don't tell lies. And I know he's been hurt, but when a leader, you don't let little things hurt you. Look at the bigger picture. Look at Russia, what's happening in Russia. Destroying the whole city, killing people. I don't believe in that. So our leaders have not really impressed me. I mean, Atta Mills didn't have the time to do any good.
Right. Let's talk. You made mention of Albert Kandapa. He's been telling us in recent times about the security situation in the sub-region, especially in April. We recorded 47 incidents, terrorist attacks and all of that, with 315 people dying. It got worse in May, maybe a fewer incidents, 42, but with the death toll rising to 465. And in June, just this past month, 70 terrorist attacks with 574 people dying. We've heard in Nigeria, for example, a lot of Catholic priests, clergy people, and all of that, kidnappings here and there. We've seen one, Deborah, who was, supposedly had said something against the Islamic faith, brutally killed and all of that. We're seeing a lot of tension in the sub-region. Security-wise, what does this point to you, and how secure are we in Ghana?
When you have a nation or group of nations in a sub-region, whether Guinea, Mali, Ghana, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and so on, and people are not fools. They can see the leadership living well. There's a lot of anger in them. I was driving to Winneba one day at the traffic light, yes, I do the traffic light. And one of these boys who was selling on the roadside, some Land Cruiser passed through the red light. Now I said, I don't drive a car with air conditioning, so I could hear it. They don't hear it. They're just passing all that way. These people are living in pain. Young people in West Africa. West Africa is not poor. But leaders are siphoning our money to their own private pockets. They can see it. They are reacting to what is going on. But if you don't see it, it happens in Guinea, in Mali, happens in Burkina Faso. Now for Nigeria, it's regular affair. The embassies are always smoking. And when these people are intelligent, but been to university, they read, they can see things for themselves. They can see that you are, look, go to Nigeria, many of the senior officers, they were my colleagues in the military. Danjuma, he has a house here, so many of them. And then they share the nation's wealth. They share it. What do you want the young boys to do? Now, the soldiers too. The people are roaming about Nigeria, not in Nigeria, killing people, randomly. Can touch them because the soldiers have sympathy with them. You get the point I'm making. Those who are, they have sympathy with the suffering of the people there. And you are doing this one day. It's all that the figures you gave me. There will be a huge explosion.
By explosion, what do you mean?
People are there was demonstration already.
They
fix Ghana. Yes. You don't care. You don't mind them. Another Rawlings is going to get up and cause a big mess, bigger than Rawlings' mess.
Another Rawlings, you feel another Rawlings will be stirred up to create a bigger mess?
Ben, if people are hungry, I get calls. People are hungry. I mean, this is not a small issue. It's not wealth. They can't get enough of local food, kenke, to eat. And we are suffering that money and buying expensive. There will be more Land Cruisers in Accra than you find in Tokyo. Are you crazy? What's wrong with us? Everybody's having Land Cruiser. So when you behave like that, you get a reaction from the youth. That's why I'm getting this thing you quoted to me. That's of anger. That's of anger. And so, the anger shouldn't arise. But we are causing it.
We are causing it. To cap off the conversation, maybe in about a minute, so what would you say is the way forward? With all your experience, with the various positions you have held and everything, for you, what would be your counsel to our leaders, and what is the way forward for Ghana?
They will not change. Yesterday, I told those young men at Kuala, you people, there are leaders in Europe, in their 30s, women, especially a lot of women, yes, Norway.
True.
What are you people doing here? What made at 85 to come and save Ghana? You go and save Ghana yourself. For my party, Nkrumah was 40 years old when he came. And when I saw him, I think I've seen the leader. First I saw him, he won about 1951. So I'm telling the youth, you included, to wake up. And if you don't save this country, I'll be gone by then. It will collapse, mark it on the wall. I told them that yesterday. Look, young people in Europe, Salvini, in their 30s, a lot of women, get the courage. You are doing nothing sinister, doing nothing criminal, doing nothing illegal. Form a party. Get a young man, 35, 40, like Nkrumah was, and follow him. And seize power and build Ghana, seize power democratically, and build Ghana to suit you and your children. If I waited for people to change Ghana for you, Ghana will never change.
Interesting note on which to end the conversation. You've been there, you've done that, and we're grateful that you shared these thoughts with us.
But I'm a little upset because I don't understand why we are poor. Well, I wasn't poor. I go to become chief of defense staff. Carrying cocoa, carrying cement, to save money to pay my school fees in secondary school. Why can't we do it if you are properly led?
Good question. And we have it all in terms of resources and even the human resource. General, it's been insightful. We're grateful you granted us audience and shared your thoughts with us. Brigadier General Joseph Nunu Mensah, a man who takes no prisoners, sharing his thoughts with us right here on the AM show. Once more, General, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you who did the watching as well, thank you for watching.
Thank you, Ben. God bless us all. Amen. And bless our homeland, Ghana.
Amen.
What an insightful conversation that was. Well, it's now time to tell you about a special promotion by Low Price Masters. And to help me have that conversation is Frank Heyman, who is Head of Sales and Marketing for Low Price Masters. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
It's my greatest pleasure to be joining you.
What's the special promotion about?
Absolutely. First of all, a warm morning to your discerning viewers. And it's so great of a pleasure to be here. Low Price Masters, no doubt we are the best and the biggest when it comes to the sale and distribution of home appliances and electronics products. In fact, 15 years of quality service and the grace and favor of God has brought us this far. We have earned the respect and value of our clients because of our hard work in terms of what we sell, how we sell it. Now, I'm here because of this good news that everybody is talking about, because the management of Low Price Masters has decided to reduce all our products by 20%, up to 20% discount. This is a bold and decisive decision that management has taken to slash all our products up to 20% when you do business with us by courtesy of Low Price Masters. So to begin with, just log on to our website now, lowpricemasters.com.gh. If you log on to lowpricemasters.com.gh, you see our website. It's a virtual tour of our website with our products and prices that gives you the brand's diversity and varieties so that you can be able to make an informed decision of what you want to be able to add value to what you want. So the website is www.lowpricemasters.com.gh. lowpricemasters.com.gh. If you log on now to lowpricemasters.com.gh, you'll be so glad you did because of the production of products and the prices, and this is happening now. That is the good news that everybody is so fixated about and everybody is quite excited about and everybody is talking about.
Interesting. And I saw a lot of appliances on that poster there, if you could just go through, because you've told us how to get a tour and see the appliances, but I can see this is a wide range of appliances. Does this capture everything that you have available, or there's more to this?
There's more to this. I mean, I'm here to give you a state-of-the-art product that we have, which is called the T-Bar Center Table. But before then, let me brief you in with some of our product that we sell. With as low as $799, you can have a 32-inch satellite digital television from Low Price Masters. When you log on to our website now, lowpricemasters.com.gh. Less than 2,000 Ghana cedis, you can get 1.5 horsepower air conditioned by courtesy of Low Price Masters. Maybe you might need a gas cooker with oven and grill as low as 1,500 Ghana cedis. You can buy from Low Price Masters. And I'm also excited to let you know that if you need a double door fridge as low as, and I mean, I'm very particular of the price because I'm not creating it. It's as low as 2,000 Ghana cedi, double door fridge by courtesy of Low Price Masters. So please, if you are watching me, I want to respectfully direct you to our website now, lowpricemasters.com.gh. You'll be glad you see and you feel it, and you are going to appreciate it so much. Beyond that, if you need microwave, if you need a kettle, ceiling fan, steam, in fact, if you just, as I'm speaking to now, with less than 70 Ghana cedi, you can have a product to buy from Low Price Masters.
Okay.
Yes, less than 70 Ghana cedis. So, I mean, this is a bold initiative that management of Low Price Masters has taken just to cushion and add value and put a smile on all our existing clients across board. Now, the icing on the cake is this. And in fact, this is why I'm here today. The T-Bar Center Table. In fact, the features are so awesome. It is the state of the art. It is a center table that you can really have the pleasure of enjoying in the center table that's in your living room. At the same time, it also got a double door fridge with multimedia. So 3-in-1 function.
Okay.
Center table with a double door fridge at the same time with multimedia. Beyond that, this same center table has a double speaker output and also connectivity with Bluetooth and USB. And it's quite exciting. I'm sure your producers might be showing the video as I'm speaking.
Yes. I was just about to say that we would actually show you what it looks like, so that we can spare you the
Bernice, I'm so excited about it. We have a limited, it's a limited supply that we have. So I want to encourage all your viewers that they need to own. In fact, I had mine, and I was so glad because it is so exciting to use. It is quality, it is efficient, and you can enjoy it because it's also got LCD display and a soft touch as well. So this particular brand, we just brought a few. It's the state of the art and it's so unique. So I'm sure you want to know how much this costs. This state of the art center table with a double door fridge with multimedia, less than 5,600 Ghana cedi. You can own one.
Okay.
Yes, because I mean, it is quite unique because it is new. And number two, it is quality. And number three, the most important thing is that it is affordable as well. So
I'd like us to replay it because, like I said, it's more exciting to see it than to hear about it.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
there you have it. So once you say it has a fridge, then somebody's wondering, how is that possible? But look,
it's possible. Yes, soft touch.
Really good looking, classy.
LCD light as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's double door free.
Got a charging port.
Absolutely. Multimedia as well. And double speaker outputs with connectivity, Bluetooth, USB. You need to get one, Bernice. Trust you me.
This is really lovely.
Absolutely,
really, really cool.
Absolutely. And I'm quite excited about it because this is new on the market and we are so much privileged to be the company that is promoting this as at now. And we just brought in limited edition. So we decided to slash our price on this. So please, if you want to have one, log on to our website now, lowpricemasters.com.gh, to have a feel and to have the ceiling. And the most important thing is that you are going to enjoy it, the T-bar center table for a cool $5,499.
Does it come in only one color?
Well, for now, I mean, we have one color because of the client need. Most clients are fixated about one color, but we also have different colors to meet your choice. But for now, it is ash, and we also have black.
Okay.
But if you have your choice, we can see what we can do. You know, it's possible.
Okay, so if you're watching us and you're really interested in getting this, there are showrooms across the country that you can visit. So it's on that video, but I'll let Mr. Heyman go through for us and also numbers to call. So you have in La Paz, Tema, Hohoiho, Sunyani, Keta, Kumasi, Takrady, Tamale.
Absolutely.
That is so far reaching.
And trust you me, all our showrooms are located in prime locations around the regional capitals. That's number one. Number two, we have stocks available. I mean, anytime that you need it, it's available. We don't tell you we've run out of stock. That one is out of it. And very importantly, we are having a customer service representative that is able to help you 24/7. If you need assistance, if you need more information, and very importantly, our price are just down to earth.
So there are numbers to call, right? Just give us those numbers. So for people who say, I haven't yet made a decision, give me some time. And I'll call you. Just drop the numbers.
Well, Bernice, there's no time to waste time because this promo is lasting as much as stocks last. So if you wait and you decide later, you might run and you have to pay higher. But why do you pay higher if you can get it less? So I am appealing to all your discerning viewers to log on to make a choice. And as I said, we have varieties of products. Now, if you want to get in touch with us, we have 3 active numbers. MTN is 0247 693 634. That is 0247 693 634. The Vodafone number is 050 432 3000. That is 050 432 3000. Finally, the Vodafone number again, the other one is 050 395 7693. 030 395 7693. We are also social media active.
Okay.
You can reach us that's on Instagram, Facebook, and as well as Twitter. That is Low Price Masters. That is our handles on social media.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned that we could get a virtual tour on your website.
That's right.
But is there opportunity to purchase virtually if I cannot travel? Yes, I know that you cover the country quite
Absolutely.
well.
Yes.
But if someone lives in a place and because of convenience or one thing or the other, they say, I can't come, I want to shop online and have it delivered. Is that possible?
Absolutely. That is the reason why we are promoting more on the website because of convenience reasons. So please, if you don't have the time to come to our showroom, feel free, log on to our website, lowpricemasters.com.gh. We have a 24-hour telemarketing department that are ready to connect you and to close the sale for you to meet your satisfaction, which is quite guaranteed.
So the good news is Low Price Masters, generally your products are low on the market when you compare to other what others are offering or what competitors are offering. But once again, you've decided to go lower.
Absolutely.
And so Low Price Masters goes lower.
That's right.
By helping us. But your final words in this particular promotion, you've mentioned that it's as long as stocks last.
That's right.
And does it cover all products or
of course,
only those on the flyer?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to end it, our thematic areas of operation has to do with what we call AADA. That is, our products are always accessible, as I've said. Log on to our website. We are social media friendly, and we've got a user-friendly website and virtual tour as well. Beyond that, also, our products are available. I mean, you don't go and tell you that we've run out of stock or go and come back. And in terms of feasibility, we have showrooms across the country. I mean, as you've seen, virtually, we opened a new branch at Dansoman. In Dansoman here in Accra, we are opposite Alpha Beta School. We have our modern showroom there. Our main head office is at La Paz, opposite the Access Bank. You can reach us in Accra. But of course, beyond that, Koforidua, we are there as well. We are in Tema, Tamale, Kumasi, Ho, Hohoi, and God has been so good. So, low price masters, we are accessible, we are available, we are durable, and the icing on the cake is that affordable.
Great to have you here, Frank Heyman. He's head of sales and marketing for Low Price Masters, and I'm sure you're smiling because a lot of you have been sharing your standard of living with us, and you know, I'm sure if you want to get a thing or two, going to Low Price Masters in the season will be a prudent decision. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
But kiddies, the time to prove that you are the best and biggest kid chef in Ghana and beyond is here again. Join season 2 of the Big Chef reality show on Joy Prime and win amazing prizes. Let me tell you how. Record yourself cooking your best dish and send us the video on WhatsApp number 0551 575757, 0551 575757. The deadline for submission is on the 10th of July 2022. That's coming up. Today's the 6th, right? Just about 4 days, so be quick about it. We can't wait to see the amazing talents this season will bring. It's the second edition of the Big Chef reality show. The Joy Prime Big Chef reality show is sponsored by Fortune Rice, always on point, just like Mommy, fried whole sunflower oil. Enjoy the goodness in tasty meals. Top Choco is chocolatey Flora tissues, quality tissues for everyone. Big Chef this July, only on Joy Prime. Well, it's now time to bring you that one on our Joy News track. And our residents of Nsawam are yearning for the revival of the Ghana Railway Service. They believe their local economy will bounce back once the trains start again. The Ghana Railway Development Authority says it cannot tell when that service will resume due to safety concerns on the lines. In this edition of Joy News Tracker, Jojo Kopna tracks the government's promise to modernize the railway service.
There are several things that went wrong in our country after we got independence. Was the way we allowed our railway infrastructure to deteriorate. Ghana, we are going to have a first-class railway system. The little I can do to strengthen you and make it possible for you to do your work, count on me. We're going to do it.
This promise brought hope to many who witnessed the gradual collapse of the once vibrant Ghana Railway Company Limited. The construction of the company started in 1898 in Sekondi, and the rail lines reached Kumasi in 1903. Ghana had rail lines that connected places where the British colonial authorities thought would be most profitable and practical for moving raw materials. From the hinterlands to the Takrady Harbour, trains brought raw materials including timber, bauxite, manganese and cocoa. They also carried traders, government employees, students and other groups who were needed for the advancement of the country.
There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
My beloved country is free forever. Since they spoil, we know they bother.
Many years after Ghana's independence, the railway infrastructure witnessed little maintenance to no maintenance. subsequently ruined. In 2016, Sekendi to Kojokrom line was repaired by the NDC government, but they were kicked out of power. The NPP government was poised to revive the industry.
It's obvious that rail transport is environmentally friendly, it is efficient, it is less costly, and is generally a more intelligent way of moving people and goods than any other form of transport.
Opariado is a retired Ghana Railway Company worker. He is so attached to his company that even after more than a decade of retirement, he still visits the Nsawam train station to reflect on the company's state of affairs.
To me, if Niana me woman and I send a see a Jumano, and any need a Jumana say, no boy, I want Sawamuga. A coba, Obanti, a Kuafu, a Dende, a Grady Fool, Nebua Winina, and Nia, a Jumana Sen, Ama, Sisi, and Kuyi.
I said, government owns a buy some almost 6 years.
Man, Cata de Muhushi or Muhushi see be a home. Near Ebubu Makuman say, Treno in Yajumabi.
The Nsawam railway station now lies near ruin and ends abruptly after the main Nsawam road. Due to many years of neglect of the rail tracks, thieves have stolen the lines and sold them as scraps.
From these railways crossing up to Chichamante, the risks are nowhere to be found. And now the place where they have to put the railway lines, people are putting up their buildings over there. You just go to Kenya about 4 to 5 years ago and you love the country. Now Kenya trains are flying ahead and we Ghana, even our train is not moving at all.
The place was painted about 2 years ago, but the walls are almost dirty again. The windows are broken. The train station has become a center for the youth to play games and relax. Many silos and warehouses that used to store goods have been converted into churches.
From here, you can see those silos up there. The first silo is where they used to sell motorbikes. The train has been bringing them. That's where they park them. The next is car. The next one is when you want to buy fridge, generator, whatever, everything concerning about light gadgets. That's where they sell it. But now all has been shut down and they are using it for church.
Nsawam locals remember the railway service with a fondness for how it sparked a flurry of activities in their local economy. They believe prices of groceries will reduce once the train starts transporting foodstuff at a cheaper cost.
Because it's here a boy thing. I can't get form the market out to me about there. Because on baby, we could traffic in Europe, baby do chroma, Bessan Faka, baby Dugan. And the Kaya Union and my name is so not in Yan so. Bank a train dear, and never be to me come cry and my fire and so elba for my. By Quano, I said I near intimidating the meaning this area you man.
Fribeha train judge high by. Ama adi youth no be bring nkama sabre ya mban se 12 na boy nka be hu ma no be bring to fi brodo no mo ba ice cream no bia ton no nya kakra egu na bosom ni botom but ne aba mrante be bring te am boss spy.
They are however worried that people have already started stealing stones that will be used to give the rail tracks some stability.
Chief no obuno de buy no so Omadija Abunegu, meaning set your moment can on the toyo, say a gun can on the toyo, say a gun is carried best rabbining on some brad game, no meshe, abono, any race now, according to 2. Say, Reverend Age Mapa, was say, Oma Nimpen from Brown, or Ombe inspection, or more meshe. Election, no more buy. When I'm Guha, some big Juman and a Juman into me, Ambassador.
The stones or ballast have been abandoned. They spread over a long stretch. The area has been taken over by weeds, and perhaps the rusted coaches abandoned there paints the perfect picture of the rail service. This is the Kotoku train station. It is located along the Accra and Sawam rail lines. Like many other railway platforms, this one too is in a sorry state. Residents of Kotoku are upset about the high cost of road transportation to Accra and are hoping that the government will start running trains soon.
Police force can engine ama nyoma ya ibasante tre body e boy pa ti abayombo modino mai 3 e ko toku fokasa de bre pa so kwa krobe si omidie ansa na osafa kasa beduha e bre trade oduha no traffic.
It could be recalled that the then managing director of the Ghana Railway Company Limited, John Essel, promised that the Accra to Nsawam line would start operations.
No, we have completed the test run. The test run is over. I did that 3 months ago. Today I wanted you to have a few. That is why I brought you. Otherwise, I've completed the test run.
So when is it going to start full operation?
I will give myself up to beginning of September, maybe 1st September, because I have to do an adjustment here and there. I have to see how I'm going to run the Tema train vis-a-vis the Sawam train. So that will take me about 2 weeks to start.
But due to unsafe lines, the service was terminated. The Accra to Tema train service also started in 2019. The former railway minister, Joe Gatti, joined the team to test the rail lines. It was also cancelled due to safety reasons. The Sekendi to Takrady line is currently the only one that transports passengers. Ghana Railways also ran a test on the Kojokrom to Takwa line, but also cancelled the service due to a derailing accident. The railway station is in a deplorable state, a pale shadow of its former self. The diesel multiple unit, which connects the coaches, appears to be broken. Squatters have made the area useful by resting there. Some sleep under the coaches.
Before the system fail, before the system fail, before the system fail.
The rail lines have also become dry lines for second-hand clothing dealers. Like the clock tower, which no longer tells the time, the government of Ghana cannot tell when the trains will run from Accra to Nsawam. Yao Wusu is the CEO of the Ghana Railway Development Authority.
What I'll tell the people who are yearning to use the line is the fact that we want to make sure we get it right. As I mentioned to you, we want to minimize any risk of potential derailment or safety. All right, so as a matter of fact, we do have plans. Those lines as they exist now, those are the old narrow gauge. We have plans to develop new standard gauge. That may take a little bit longer time. I can't put any timeline. To be honest with you, I cannot put any timeline. That I'll be deceiving you if I put any timeline on there, but we are fervently working on it. We want to get the lines running. I know everybody is looking forward to the railway lines running.
The Tema to Mpakadan rail line is perhaps the sector's most visible achievement.
So currently there are 2 main projects ongoing. The first one is the Tema Mpakadan, which is about 97 kilometers. The project is slated to be completed by the end of 2022. It's almost finished. And this line also runs over the lake, about 300-meter suspension or semi-suspension bridge over the Volta Lake. The Tema Mpakadan is also part of the interconnectivity between Ghana and Burkina Faso. And we have built about roughly 100 kilometers from Takrady all the way to almost to Huni Valley.
Mr. Yaowusu promised in April 2021 that 2 diesel multiple units will be purchased by November 2021 to transport passengers from Tema to Mpakadan.
The Ministry of Finance has approved the purchase of 2 DMUs, which is diesel multiple units, to transport passengers from Tema to Mpakadan. Yes.
So when are they likely to enter into the country?
Most likely before the completion of this project in November, before November.
That promise has not materialized yet.
Those 2 DMUs are still, it takes about 18 months really to order a new DMU. So what we've decided to do is to go for a refurbished one, which we are planning to have probably in the next couple of months, hopefully by the end of 2022.
Page 24 of the 2016 NPP manifesto clearly spells out government's plan to revive the rail sector.
Completely overhauling the western and eastern lines to facilitate the haulage of bauxite, manganese, cocoa, cement, iron ore and other bulk commodities, as well as the transportation of people. The rehabilitation of the eastern line in particular will also facilitate the operation of the Bonkra Inland Port, which has been rendered inoperable as a result of the non-functioning of the line. Developing an integrated light rail transit system for our major cities to connect main business districts with outlying residential locations, extending the Eastern Rail Line from Kumasi to Paga to create an Accra-Kumasi-Paga connection to facilitate haulage of goods from and to the north, and the exploitation of iron ore and other mineral reserves in the north, building a Tema-Akonsombo rail link to tie in with a vibrant and revived Volta Lake transportation system to provide a major avenue for expanded transportation and the resulting economic activity.
Many Ghanaians are waiting with bated breath for a modernized railway system as promised by President Akufo-Addo.
Before the system fail, before the system fail.
That's Jojo Kobna with our latest edition of the JoyNews Tracker. And if you're not aware, just yesterday, President Akufo-Addo cut short for the Mansuhuni Valley Railway work to begin, and he declared it the highest single investment. While we wait for the existing ones to begin work, the President is cutting short for new ones and says there's steady progress in the rail sector. Apologies, we can't pick your calls and have your say today. We will do that, God willing, tomorrow. So just forgive me for that. When we come, God willing, tomorrow, I'll be open to taking your comments on the major issues that we would be discussing. But for myself and obviously Benjamin Akapo, who brought us that interesting conversation with Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, retired, it's a goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay safe and stay here on the JoyNews channel. Up next is News Desk. Thanks for your company once again.